go. I was just trying to get my dogs to settle down. But yeah, we are live. So hello, hello. Let me see. It doesn't look like we have anybody in the chat, but let me see. Did you just want to do like casual conversation for now, or just go ahead and go right into it?
Yeah, we'll do some casual conversation until some more people come through. Because for YouTube, it takes a minute for people to get their notifications, anyways.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it takes up to 3 or 4 minutes for people to get their notifications.
Oh,
So
I
how
didn't
was
know that.
how was your week?
It was all right. Um, just mostly working, taking the dogs for walks, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Um, and then of course just watching the films and taking notes.
And how is
Um,
the heat in Texas? Because here in Florida, our heat index has been over 100, like every day of the week. And then yesterday, I lost power for a little while, but that's been happening
Ooh,
kind of all summer, where the power will
yeah.
go out for like an hour or two. I think it's just from everyone trying to use their ACs so heavily. They've told us to wash our clothes at night, so that there's less strain on the power grid.
Mm-hmm. Wow, there's Slipknot. Hello, Slipknot. How are you doing? I stuttered. But yeah, the as far as the weather, I think yeah, we've been in the hundreds all week. It's just
Mhm.
luckily I work from home, and then I take my dogs out early in the morning as well as late in the evening. So I found a way to avoid the heat.
Good, good, good. I feel bad for the dogs that are like, when I see a husky down here, I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
"Jeez." I'm like, "How who gets a husky in Florida?" Like, poor thing, because they have a double coat, and one of, our cats are like that. We have, a couple short hair cats, and one has it's a Norwegian forest cat who has a double
Oh,
coat, and
oh yeah.
he has to come in the house a lot because his coat is so thick.
Yeah, I believe that.
But he's nice and fluffy. He's one of those fluffy long hair cats, but pain in the neck to try to keep clean.
Yeah.
Everyone wants a Ouija or Persian or there's another one that's like a Persian, a long-haired cat until you get one, and then it's like that's a lot of work because
Ah,
they can't use a regular cat brush. There's like a comb for long-haired cats.
oh, okay. Yeah, I just use a regular cat brush on mine. She's also a
Hmm.
long hair, and even when I wash and clean clothes, it's like this thing's already dirty and I haven't worn it yet.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I keep the lint removers because cat hair, especially during the summertime, because they molt. They start
Yeah.
shedding their hair in the summer, and then they grow it thicker in the winter.
Yeah. I'm always saying that I should get one and I still haven't gotten around to it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I've had my cat for years. I guess I'm just used to wearing fur by now.
Does it sometimes affect the color of clothes that you wear? Because sometimes I will purposely try to wear clothes that are similar colors to the cat so that if it gets cat hair on it, it's not as noticeable.
Um,
Like I typically don't wear a whole lot of black because the cat has one of the cats has white fur and the other one has like that tabby light brown blonde, I guess you call it, color hair fur.
mhm.
So black clothes around them is just you're just asking to be covered in cat hair.
Yeah, yeah, I do wear a lot of black shirts. I do have some colored stuff. I just don't wear it too often.
Oh wow,
Um,
Slipknot fan says that coincidentally, I was watching a Blu-ray collector video. A British guy has both the Orphan movie and a two-disc set for 11.99. Well, 11.99 pounds, which should have been 20 pounds, which that's pretty cool. And Tony Man says, "Hey ladies, I'm here. Hello." And we've waited about 4 minutes, so I think we can get into it. What I'll
okay.
start with is I'm going to share my screen because we just this morning. I actually recorded this last night, and then I made the video, this morning.
Okay.
I was editing it. I literally posted it probably at 1 o'clock or a little bit after 1 o'clock, which gives a little bit of background on some other orphans, which thanks to one of Kara's followers on Twitter put us up on another individual that her story happened even before, Natalia Grace. And then
Mm.
when I was looking up her story, I discovered two more stories. So I'm gonna um, share the screen and let you guys see that if I can. I don't know whether can you see the other window that's down there? Don't
Oh,
think it's allowing me
let
to
me
add it to the
see.
screen on my end.
I'm checking. It should have adjusted. I clicked on it. I'm on the mobile app, so it's.
Oh, okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I'm
All right. I'm gonna
clicking
stop.
layout
Yeah.
and done. It doesn't seem to be doing it on
All right. I'm gonna
mobile.
stop and I'm gonna try to present again.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I clicked on something wrong. Yeah, it's not okay.
Let me see. I see the screen changed. Oh, let me see. That's not what I meant to do. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah, because it's not allowing me to share it on my end. So what I'll do, old school. All right, since that doesn't want to work, make my screen. Yeah, put that back, and I'm just gonna do it this way.
Okay.
I'm sure you've heard of the horror thriller Orphan, but did you know these creepy true stories of imposter orphans? March 10th, 1928, 9-year-old Walter Collins disappeared. In August, Walter returned, only it wasn't Walter. It was 12-year-old runaway Arthur Hutchins Jr., who tried to pass himself off as Walter. When Walter's mother insisted that this was not the real Walter, which you can see written all over her face in this picture, she was committed to a psych ward. She was later released when Arthur admitted to the police that he really wasn't Walter. The movie Changeling was inspired by the story, not the George C. Scott one. Jolie movie. June 13th, 1994, 13-year-old Nicholas Barclay disappeared. In 1997, 23-year-old Pierre Bourdin claimed to be 16-year-old Nicholas and even lived with his family for almost 5 months until it was discovered in 1998 that he was an imposter. Barbara Skorlova, a woman who posed as a 13-year-old girl, was adopted in the Czech Republic. Because he fled to Norway, and passed herself off as a 13-year-old missing boy named Pat. The parents of the real believed to have helped Barbara deceive Norwegian child care authorities. She was the inspiration for the horror movie Orphan. It was Natalia Grace who came to the U.S. as an adoptee from the Ukraine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think it wound around.
When they discovered she had precocious puberty, they petitioned to have her legal age changed from 8 to 22. The problem is Natalia may have really only been 12 to 14 years old when the Barnetts left her alone in an apartment and moved to Canada. She later went on to live with Juan and Cynthia May. She believed Barnett was inspired to legally change Natalia's age by the film. Join me for our retrospective Saturday. We talk more about the documentary and the 2009 film Orphan. I'm sure. Here we go. So
Okay.
those were the people that I found that their stories were similar to
Mm-hmm.
what we see in the movie Orphan. But let's talk about this documentary about Natalia Grace because that was off the chain. Like that, what we see in the movie Orphan. But
Yeah, that was crazy. I'm like, and even as you had noted, it really is a real life horror story. The
Mhm.
thing that's interesting is it's both parties, not just one sided.
Yeah, and actually, it actually made me feel more sorry for Natalia because like most of the evidence points to her still being a child, possibly a teenager, but still a child.
I disagree with that because I know there was part of the documentary where they showed Natalia next to a child who should have been around her age, and it was even pointed out that no, her face looks more developed, especially the cranium.
Well, the thing was, the child that she was next to, they were trying the adoption agency were trying to pass Natalia off as I believe 4 or 5 years old, when
Mhm.
really she was 14. So that's still a minor. Like she wasn't 4 years old, but she still wasn't an adult either.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because I think when she entered the family that's in the documentary, she was
Hmm.
going as 8 years old.
Yeah, it was something younger than what she really was.
Mm-hmm.
And the part that's confusing is Natalia speaks English pretty well.
Yeah.
There was no part of the documentary, although it's only part one. The part two, Natalia speaks, comes out, and also you saw her on Dr. Phil, so you might have more
Mm-hmm.
information than I do. Did she ever say that she told her adoptive parents that she wasn't as young as they think she is?
That wasn't mentioned because actually in the Dr. Phil, she was staying with a family that accepted her as, I
A
guess you would
teenager.
say, um, it was part of that, but then they also took her in because I think she was considered to have a disability. She had like scoliosis and
Oh
in
yeah.
addition to dwarfism.
Hmm.
And they
And
were,
they found her living by herself because the Barnetts had gotten an apartment for her and they moved to Canada.
mhm,
And so they were brought up on charges of child neglect, even though they had changed her birth certificate to state that she's 22 years old. So
yeah.
the whole situation is real funky.
Well, not just that, but it's, let me see, even like her birth year, I forget what the fake birth year was. And then they
Hmm.
later discovered that no, she was, I want to say 2006.
Hmm.
And then in Dr. Phil, she said she was born in 1989.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
that
so
would make
that,
her even older.
mm-hmm,
Wow. So my question is, how come no one has asked her, or at least I haven't seen anyone ask her, hey, when you were adopted, why didn't you tell the people who adopted you, I'm not an elementary school kid? Why did you just go with it? It's
mm-hmm,
weird, especially when they discovered that you were having your period already and stuff. Although that's not an unknown thing. It's called precocious puberty when someone has starts menstruating at like 5 years old. That has happened, but it's super rare. Um,
mm-hmm.
but the fact that she never said anything, I don't know, maybe she was afraid she'd be left out on the street, but she ended up kind of being left anyways. So
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like the family that she was living with. I get the impression that they eventually just hated her and discarded her, or I could just be overthinking on that.
it seemed like they kind of wanted the brownie points for adopting a child, but because this child came with issues, I mean, not just the physical of having dwarfism, but emotional issues, because the Barnetts were probably the third or fourth family that she had been with. I think she
Um,
had been placed two other times, but they weren't permanent, so this is the third placement. That kind of has some psychological components to it, and then also coming from the Ukraine, I don't know what's done to help children acclimate to a new country. It's just a lot
mhm,
going on, and not a whole lot of. I didn't see in the documentary any talking of to a psychiatrist at all. Like that, I would think that the family would say, okay, if we're to believe that she was exhibiting the things that they were claiming,
mhm.
why would you not take this child to see a psychiatrist unless they were like religious people that don't believe in psychiatry? I don't know.
Mm, on that, I'm not too sure. I don't think the religion thing really came up. And let me see, I think it was towards the end. Supposedly, she had been pushed down the stairs. So, if they're religious, not that religious.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really messed up. Like the whole story, and then the
Um,
father. What do you think of him?
he's just a weirdo.
Yeah, it's not normal.
Yeah, I mean, other than the fact that, like, okay, he's over expressive, but then he kind of seems like wishy-washy. Like, let me see, I remember about the wife, for example, and I know that's like way later in the conversation, but he had first been saying that she manipulated him and she can't hurt him anymore. But then when he was going through litigation, he actually admitted, "I'm scared of her," and he started crying.
Mm. Yeah, the wife, I don't I everyone in the thing just seems off. Like,
Hmm.
there's no one that seems all the way there. Although I can't speak for Natalia because I did not see her individual, interview.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I know even in I don't think she was actually told, but she gave the supposition that she had stayed with a total of 30 families, and my first
Mhm.
thought was, wow. And I
Yeah,
don't know
that's
if that's just a case of other people giving her back, or I know she had temporary placements also.
then that also speaks to her psyche because if she really was born in 1989, then she has been pretending to be a child for a very long time, and that was she wait, I wanna say she was taken to a psychiatric facility. In episode 3, they did say she was temporarily placed in a psychiatric facility, but she was making, like, sexual passes at people.
Oh yeah, yeah, she
Mhm,
was hitting on the older men, just trying to hook up with them.
mhm.
I don't think she touched anyone as far as being in the facility. I know at one point she did try with a child, so it just makes me curious. Like, was she just that desperate, or is she a pedophile?
I don't know whether yeah, like, the whole story is so whacked out, like, it's so whacked out.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, I mean, I don't remember why she went to the psych ward, but yeah, yeah. Like now that you mention it, I remember that. And even Orphan seems to touch on that. I don't know if that's also something that Skorlova did, or
Mhm.
if it's just something they added to the story, or if they just kind of did, what do you call it, like a mesh between both persons. Because, well, we had even discussed earlier that both families had two children, the Skorlova as well as Grace.
Mhm, mhm. And there was, some abuse allegations, with
Hmm.
Skorlova. Um, what's wild is she did it multiple times because the second time she passed herself off as the missing, young man named Andrew, who was 13 years old.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
The f
that's.
the first one I found was the one from 1928 with, what were sorry, I forget the person's name. It was Walter Collins who disappeared in 1928, and then Arthur Hutchinson Jr. was the runaway
Hmm.
who tried to say that he was Walter, and Walter's mother never really accepted him as her son, and she kept on saying this child is not my son, and the police chief had her committed. That was just the
Yeah.
wildest story until um it wasn't Walter, Arthur finally
Hmm.
admitted that he wasn't Walter.
Yeah, that's. Oh, and
There's
then
probably
that's
more
the.
stories than just these 4, but these are the 4 that popped up when I was looking at, information about, Sclerova because I actually when I made the first thumbnail, I made a mistake and I put that, um "Hey, Marty." I made a mistake when I'm not the thumbnail, a Instagram post, and I made a mistake of saying that Orphan was based off of, Natalia Grace, and then one of your followers said, "Well, that movie came out before the
Yeah.
whole court case with Natalia Grace," and that's when I looked up, Barbara Skorlova
Hmm.
and who the person who's actually, the Orphan movie is based off of.
Yeah, I remember mentioning in, I think it was on your page in the comments, that yeah, in the documentary they even referenced the orphan.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, he had said it's something like out like that movie The Orphan, like what they were experiencing. He compared it.
Yes. And also the people, Cynthia and Antoine, that, Natalia moved in with,
Hmm.
Cynthia said that she felt that the Barnetts got the idea to change, um, Natalia's birth certificate from the movie Orphan.
Hmm.
But that's just her personal opinion. But it's
Yeah.
very interesting. I think some of the creepiest horror comes from real life things, like Buffalo Bill from
Hmm.
Signs of the Lambs, and Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Norman Bates, all inspired by the same person.
Ed Gein.
Yeah, I think it's Ed Gein. He's the one that made the lamps with the women's skin, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. So what are your thoughts on the first Orphan movie? I think it's so campy and I love it because of its camp.
I didn't notice it as campy, but I enjoyed it. Let me see if I can peek at my notes here. But yeah, oh, that's what it was. I had noted that they have kind of like a lot of subtle psychological undertones, like they're implying about the like the mom early on she's at the psychiatrist and she seems very concerned about the alcohol. So and my first thought was, okay, does she have a drinking problem? I didn't assume alcoholic,
Mhm.
but it something was obviously up. um Let me see, trying to pull my notes up.
Tony Man, you might have missed it, but we actually just did talk about how crazy the dad was from the Barnett family, or how dramatic he seemed. Like he was
Yeah,
just over the top. And
yeah,
I don't think he's that believable.
no. Even when he's trying to mimic Natalia Grace, like whenever she would deliver certain things, just neutral toned, like,
Mhm.
I'm trying to kill you. And even then, he couldn't hold a straight face. He was still being expressive about that.
Mhm.
Um, or what was it when he started punching
The
the
ground, yeah.
floor? Yeah,
Thank you, Marty.
yeah. I mean, the my first thought was WTF,
Mhm.
and then he complains that his hands hurt. I'm like, well, duh.
Mhm. And forgetting to turn the mic off when his son went
Oh
upstairs to talk
yeah,
to him. I don't know which one of them forgot to turn their mic off. It might have been the son's mic, but that was
yeah.
very telling. And I feel bad for the son because he's like collateral damage because he was a child when most of this stuff was going on,
Mm-hmm.
and then on top of it, he was a gifted child that was being
Yeah.
pushed into college at like what 11 or 12 years old. They were sending him to college.
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he was considered that advanced, but I think
Mm-hmm.
mentally, like a child isn't prepared to handle
Oh yeah.
college.
Yeah, that actually happened with my older brother. They had skipped him from kindergarten to 3rd grade,
Oh, wow.
and, he was able to do the work, but he
Mm-hmm.
would still have temper tantrums because he was a
Mm-hmm.
5-year-old, and so
Yeah.
my father was like, "Just put him back in the kindergarten," because even though he can, do the schoolwork, emotionally, he's not developed enough to be with the older kids.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that.
Mhm.
Oh, but just really quick, like I know you had found those four people that had either pretended to be someone else or pretended to be younger than they actually were to just sneak their way into a family. I didn't realize that that was I don't want to say common, but I didn't realize that it happened a little more than I thought it would have.
Yeah. And that's not including the I've heard at least of 3 stories of women going back to high school that were in their 20s and 30s.
Oh wow.
Just going like regular disguise themselves as regular students and going to high school. And it's like, well, and these are people who graduated, not people who needed a GED and just wanted to
Hmm.
finish. They're just people who wanted to go back to high school. It's a very interesting phenomenon. I don't know. I'm sure there's
Hmm.
probably a psychological name for it,
Yeah.
beyond Arrested Development, but yeah, it's very, very interesting.
I mean, my best guess is that because sometimes people say, "Oh, I wish I could go back and change this or fix this." I don't know if maybe
Mhm.
that's part of the condition.
It could be. I have nightmares about going back to high school. I would never wanna go back. And in my nightmares, it's usually something like I can't open my locker, or I didn't study for a test, or I missed the bus. It's always something anxiety inducing when I dream about being back in school. I'm like, "No, I'm glad that that's section of my life is over. I still like to
Mhm.
learn. I just don't like actually being in a high school. It's what keeps me from teaching too. Like I did work in the school system way back in the early 2000s,
Mhm.
and like I don't think I could handle it today. Like just the anxiety. I mean, imagine how the kids feel, but the anxiety of having to do active shooter drills, I don't think I could take that.
Yeah. Um, yeah, because I know in my early 20s I was a substitute teacher and
Mhm.
it
Eh,
generally wasn't that bad. It's just the junior high kids. It's like, please
oh
behave
yes,
already.
yeah. Junior high is it's difficult because they they're in that point of development where one minute they are a teenager, the next minute they're a child, and then they're back to teenager. They'll go from yelling to crying to moping to joking. It's very,
Yeah.
very emotional swing type of thing. I actually prefer being in the high school, and I liked elementary school. I didn't like preschool so much only because of, every now and then someone's gonna almost vomit on you, and it's like can't deal with it. Not deal with the sticky kids. Once they get out of their sticky phase, I'm
Oh,
good.
yeah. All right. Thanks, Proxy. We appreciate that. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing. Oh,
Pimp
and then
next.
just really
I,
quick, he was asking if we're still tweeting or crossing. Is tweeting still a thing even though the company changed? Yeah, I think they call it something different now.
yeah, I'm still calling it Twitter. I saw a funny
Yeah.
meme. Somebody put from Coming to America. Remember the guys in the barbershop when the
Oh, yeah.
guy was talking about Muhammad Ali and he said, well, his mama named him Cassius. I'm going to call him Cassius. They put that, but instead it said, it's named Tweet. Well, I'm going to keep calling it Tweet.
Yeah, I still call it tweeting. I don't like that they changed it to, I think reposting. It's like whatever happened to, I forget what it used to be called. I'm already getting to that point.
Retweeting, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
posting and
retweeting.
reposting is already taken by Facebook. That's what it's called when you post on Facebook and you repost on Facebook. You can't just take the yeah. It's
Yeah.
Tony Man said that's why I
Yeah.
like teaching fourth grade because after that they think they know everything and get mouthy. Mm.
Yeah, they do. Um, yeah, I remember when I was substitute teaching, one of the classes that I was overseeing, I guess just because I was a substitute, he just felt that it was okay to just sit by the back end of the room, crack a window open, and just light up a joint.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
The worst I had was a girl put her feet up on a desk and open a bag of potato chips and start eating her potato chips in the middle of class. But smoking is one step beyond that. Like,
Yeah.
geez.
But yeah, I think
I would have
that's,
probably made a joke and told him, "Did you bring enough for the whole class? If not, you have to put it away."
yeah. Yeah, that was one experience in high school. I know another one. I was
Mhm.
substituting a different day and I had tripped over the cord from the projector
Mhm.
after I had plugged it in. And one of the kids, I think he had said something about like, "Hey, miss, you want to go for a trip?" And then he repeated it again later, and I just said to him, "I heard you the first time."
Hmm.
But other than that, it's just kind of like moved on, whatever. But yeah, I mean, those were probably the, oh, yeah, I mean, I know I'm getting off topic. Maybe I should just stop telling stories.
No, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, and I say that the junior high kids are like the worst lot. Like, and this is probably up there with like the smoking story.
Mhm.
It was for a shop class, and we were just substituting, and I forget what they used, but there was like a window in the teacher's office, and someone cracked it. There was also like another situation where I forget what some kid was doing, but he pulled my bra strap out of my shirt and he says, "Oh, it's red."
Well, that's sexual harassment.
Yeah, yeah, but it's like at the time, it's like I don't think I could be wrong, but I don't remember people talking about sexual harassment as much.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what's the worst they could have done? Call his parents and give him like detention?
Oh, no, no, I just would have talked to him directly, and and let him know that you're going to do that to the wrong girl and she's going to punch you in the face.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it probably
No, that
happened
type of thing I wouldn't
eventually.
even like. Most of the times when I was a sub, I'd never called the parents. I only had to call security one time, and that was when a boy was threatening to fight a girl
Oh,
because I
wow.
yeah, she made fun of him and called him ugly, and he was just really in his feelings, and he was so upset he wanted to fight her, and I just had to I ended up having to break it up myself because security took their time coming to the room. So
Hmm.
fortunately I was able to calm him down and tell her to stop speaking to him that way because and I explained to her boys have feelings too. You can't just say crazy
Yeah.
stuff to them. And I explained to him because of your weight and physical strength difference, it's not right for you to try to physically attack her. Now, if you want to verbally spar back at her because she said something to you, that would be the more appropriate way to handle this.
Hmm.
And they actually
Unless he
listened to me.
just, oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I was surprised, but
I'm surprised if he didn't turn around and like drop the F bomb on her.
mhm. Yeah. I
But yeah,
remember
I
one
mean,
time the kids told the principal on me.
oh,
They told the principal on me for cursing because I think I said, "What the hell are you doing?" The kids did something. I said, "What the hell are you doing?" And they told on me. She said, "Hell."
oh my
It's like,
gosh. Oh, I'm guessing elementary kids.
no, this was high school. This,
Oh,
this
well,
was, yeah,
that's just
I'm
ridiculous.
just like, you're a snitch. You're a snitch.
I would have expected that from younger kids.
hmm Crypta Miria says, "Yeah, that's what I would say." Well said.
Yeah, absolutely.
hmm
And it was good advice, especially on the part of you correcting the boy, because obviously he, like you say, he is bigger. He
hmm
would be stronger. He could really hurt her.
Yeah.
Little brats.
hmm Speaking of little brats, let's get back to the orphan.
I know we kind of really trailed off.
Shout out to the actress that played the orphan. I think she did a great
Yeah,
job.
Isabel. I forget her last name. It starts with an F.
Let me see. While I looked it up, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So Tony Man says I got pantsed by a high schooler when I was a sub. Jesus. He ended up getting in a full Nelson and thrown out of the PE class, half female, half male class. I got in trouble. Yeah, well, that's what he got for touching somebody else.
Isabel Furman played
Furman.
Esther. Yeah, she did an awesome job.
Yeah, she did really well. And even then, it's like I'm guessing the character had been in the States for a while prior to being in the institution because her accent wasn't thick or muddled. It sounded fairly
hmm
English-esque.
Yeah, it still sounded Eastern European to me, but it was still pretty clear. Like it was easy to understand her.
Yeah.
I thought the accent was pretty cool. I liked that facet of her character, and they explore it more
Hmm.
in Orphan First Kill. That's what also makes it clearer that they base it off of Barbara Sklarova
Yes.
because she's from Eastern Europe, but from
Hmm.
uh,
I
not
don't remember.
not Ukraine.
It starts with an N, I want to say.
She had run away to to Norway, but she came from. Let me pull up my notes because I did write it down.
But yeah, I think she had originally masqueraded as a boy because she was trying to avoid being subpoenaed for some sort of a trial. It was like an abuse issue that she had been
hmm
involved in.
Czech Republic is where she
Okay,
was originally
check.
from. Czech
Okay.
Republic, and then she ran to Norway. Um,
Okay, that's what I remembered. Norway. Just forgot the name.
And at the time, she was 33 years old when she
Oh,
passed for
okay.
the 13-year-old boy. That's the wildest part is that she's 33. But they did say that she also had a physical condition that made her look younger than what she was. I forgot what the
Yeah,
name
it
of the
was some kind of a disorder.
mhm. Which is you know what? There's a TLC show. I don't know if you've seen her before. There was a girl. She's like 23 years old, but she looks like Hold on, I'll find it and I'll show her picture. I was watching it.
Hmm. Oh, and I'm gonna mispronounce this. Cryptomera says, "Yeah, that is such a crazy story. It really is, and that's that we haven't really pointed out the crazy stuff as far as Natalia Grace. I mean, it. If you think what we mentioned so far was bad, it gets worse."
Shauna Ray, that was the name of this of the show. It's called
Hmm.
I Am Shauna Ray, and I'll show you her picture. This is her. She is 23 years old,
Oh,
but
okay.
she presents very much like you might mistake her for an elementary school child.
Yeah, I mean, especially the way she's dressed.
Yeah, which it kind of like it's kind of hard. I can imagine it's hard for her because how are you going to find clothes your size that are adult clothes? Like because
Yeah.
even all she's not like a the achondroplegic dwarves, they tend to look, completely adult, but just shorter in stature. Um,
Hmm.
she she actually had a cancerous tumor that affected her pituitary gland, which
Oh, okay.
makes her
Yeah.
look like she's a primordial dwarf, but she's not technically a primordial dwarf. Primordial dwarfs are usually more um what's the word I want to say?
Like disproportionate.
No, proportionate, the opposite of that. Primordials are more proportionate, like, they
Oh,
just
okay.
everything is small. Their head is small, they look like how a child would look, whereas an achondroplegic dwarf, their head is still gonna grow like an adult size head.
Yeah.
And, they might even have larger feet and things. It's not like a proportionate,
Yeah. Like a mismatch.
yeah, like,
Mishmash.
she's complete the thing clicked. Wait, there we go. She's completely proportional.
Uh-huh.
She's just basically the size of an 8-year-old. She's with her wine glass because she's 23. So I'm sure
Hmm.
it's a chore to try to find clothes that fit that are also age appropriate.
Yeah.
And that won't be alarming too, because imagine she's walking down the street and say she wants to wear, the same type of bodycon dresses that other 23-year-old young ladies wear. People are going to be calling the cops saying there's a child out here being trafficked. I don't know what.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can imagine that she might get that a lot. But the
Um,
hair, she could change her hair to look in a more, um, mature style. I think that could probably help. But they can tell she's a millennial because she has a side part and not a middle part. No, wait, she's not millennial. She is Gen Z. Why does she have a side part? Most Gen Zs don't have side parts, they have middle parts. Very
I
interesting.
I actually wore a side part today, so I think that's kind of funny.
Mhm. Yeah, they say that's a generational thing that the side part, Gen X does both side part and middle part.
Yeah.
Millennials mostly side part, and then Gen Z is mostly middle part. It's the oddest bit of information I know. Don't ask me why I know that. I'm I have a wealth of useless information.
No, I mean it's
Um,
interesting. I didn't know that.
Tonyman says, yeah, that show exploited her, showing her
Yeah.
drinking and going on dates with regular sized men and getting the reactions.
Yeah, I'm curious to look that up. And then like for people with this condition, I know Orphan First Kill touched on it, like
Hmm.
if, like sexual deviants going after these people because they look like children but they're legal
Hmm.
age.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think there was an episode. I don't think it was CSI. It was like back in the early 2000s, and they dealt with a court case that um I forget what you said it was called, where they're proportional, but yeah, there was
Oh, primordial.
primordial.
Primordial dwarfs. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, there was a woman involved in that one, and the boyfriend was being taken to court because they thought he was messing around with a little girl,
Hmm.
even though she was an adult.
Oh, I think I remember that. I think that was Law and Order Special Victims Unit.
Oh, okay, Law and Order. I don't know why I was
Hmm.
thinking CSI.
And I remember it was revealed that she was in her 20s, but
Yeah,
she also had that form of dwarfism that made her look like she was 12.
yeah. Because I remember they even brought up to her like, do you not realize you're being like taken advantage of? Like he's only with you because you look like a child.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can see that. Because I can't, and I maybe it's extremely biased, but I can't see like, I know that last case you mentioned, she was dating adult men, but other than that, I can't think of a situation where an adult would want to be involved with someone that looks like a child because I imagine at some points it can be confusing.
Yeah, and also you don't want, like, how would it kinda sucks, but the way people would see you in public, like, you can't even, like, hold hands or be romantic because it's gonna look crazy, so the people are gonna
Yeah,
think that you're abusing a child when that person is an adult, so it almost seems like, um, the more like, I'm only gonna say this because it's logical, but it's not always practical. The most
mhm.
logical thing would be for that person to date other people with the same condition. I would
Yeah.
think maybe that would be easier.
Maybe it's just that she wanted to be seen as an adult, so that's why she went out with fully
Yeah.
grown
Oh,
men.
she definitely wants to be well, from the episodes that I've seen, because 'cause I've not watched the whole series, but the
Hmm.
episodes that I saw, she definitely wants to be seen as an adult. In the show, they showed her going to a bar and showing how difficult it is for her to get served, even though she's showing her ID.
Hmm.
Um, Going to the gym and how, some of the equipment there is not really made for people with dwarfism, it's made for, um, what would you call
Average
standard
height.
size? I'm gonna say standard size people. Kinda like I just, um applied with my canine knowledge, like, you
Yeah,
have a
like
standard size
miniatures,
poodle, and you have
standards.
miniatures, and you have yeah, um
That was my first thought when you mentioned that, especially because my brother, he has three beagles, so of course I've
mhm,
heard the talk, and he's raised numerous litters of puppies. So I just picked that up from there.
mhm. Which I think, one of my favorite I mean, this is a non sequitur, but my favorite dog would be a standard size poodle. I love
Okay.
how they have curly hair, and I love that from what I read, their bite pressure is equal to that of a Doberman, and their musculature is very similar to a Doberman also, and they're very, very smart. Very, very easy to train from what I've read. I've only had a toy poodle when I was a child, and we've had a dog that was half poodle, half Pomeranian.
Oh, okay.
Then I had a Doberman, and I had a blue tick hound dog, who used to bay at the moon. Tony Man says, "Don't judge me,
Oh,
but on Howard Stern, they used to interview a porn star named Little Lupe. One dude got arrested for, I can't say that on, we'll say Kitty Corn because we can't say that on YouTube. And she had to testify of her real age. She was one of those small adults. Yeah, I think they refer
mm-hmm.
to themselves as little people. Yes,
Oh
but
yeah.
that's wild. They're very loyal as well. Yes, the standard size poodle are very loyal. Hmm.
Um, yeah, I have a beagle, and he's a miniature.
Hmm.
The thing is, and maybe it's part of dwarfism, but he's shorter than usual. Like he has little short legs.
Hmm.
The the miniatures are supposed to be like knee height,
Hmm.
and he's actually lower.
Wow.
So yeah, it happens. I know it happens with beagles. I don't know if with other breeds.
There's a whole breed of dog, like, when I look at a Dachshund, they look like a breed of dog that has dwarfism, just the limbs are so short, but their body is still, like, the same length.
Yeah, yeah, that's what mine has. He has kind of like a longer body, short legs.
Mhm,
My brother says, oh, he could almost pass for a basset.
mhm. There wasn't circling back to Orphan,
Hmm.
oh, wait, we'll do one more comment. Standard sized poodles are also very conceited and arrogant, I heard as well. Well, if your hair was that fabulous, you'd be conceited too. They have hair that
Probably.
can be cut into different styles. Not every dog can do that.
Yeah. I mean, that being mentioned, it sounds like Adonis would be a good name for a poodle.
Mhm. I
I
wish I
wish
could
I
have
could.
oh, go
Uh,
ahead.
Sorry, I wish I could have pets. I had a little Chihuahua Zeus, made it to 20. I miss my little bear bait. That's cute.
Aw. 20 is a long time, that's a long life.
Yeah. I
Mhm,
think like 15 to 18 is like the average.
mhm. Um, what was I gonna say? Were there any pets harmed in Orphan? I can't remember.
The I don't remember them having pets in the first one. The second one, there was a pet rat
Mhm,
that accidentally got poisoned and then stuffed into a smoothie, kind of like, how do you like that?
mhm. I lo speaking of the second one, I like the addition of having the nefarious parents,
Uh-huh.
because that I do think they took from the Natalia Grace story. That the whole issue with the parents and, but also with Barbara's story, because the was it the
Oh
twin
yeah.
sister the sisters that she stayed with that were abusing children as well?
I
I know she
I'm
oh,
not sure, but I know the boys, they were abused. They
mhm.
were even forced to consume their own vomit.
Oh, yeah, I remember reading that and I, like, immediately tried to push it out of my brain. Yeah, that is just so gross.
Yeah. I mean, and who knows what else they did to them. I mean, usually it escalates.
Mhm. It's horrific. We talked about that, something similar, yesterday when we were talking about Castle Freak, and we talked about how the character of Giorgio was kept in the basement of the castle since age
Ah,
5 on up to adulthood,
mm-hmm.
and we talked about how, as of late, there's been several stories in the news about children that were kept that same way. There was a story, I'm not sure whether it was Arizona or New Mexico, but it was kind of in that area, of 2 boys that escaped a house. The neighbors didn't know that the little boys were in the house because they had never been let out of the house. They were
Mm.
locked in this room and they escaped through the window, unclothed, and the neighbors found them and, called the authorities, and it was just no one knew those children were in that house locked up for years. And
Wow.
there was another story of some children that were kept in doggy cages in a hotel,
Oh,
and
geez.
or I think it might have been a motel, but the staff notified DCF, and they had to kind of talk the kids into letting them in the room because there was some kids were loose and they had the chain lock on the door, and the hotel staff was finally able to get them to open the door. And when they opened the door, there was a 10-year-old, and I don't know the age of the other child that
Mm-hmm.
was smaller, that were locked together, two children in one doggy cage.
Jesus.
Craziness, yeah.
I mean, I've heard of adult women, but that's an entirely different thing.
Hmm. And there was another boy, shout out to Rainbow Fright, she brought this up. There was a boy that his mother reported him missing when he was about 10 or 11 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He popped back up recently in his 20s, and all the neighbors are like, "Oh my god, where have you been?" She had him locked in the house for 10 years, and she was having an, incestuous relationship with him.
Mm.
But she had him locked in her house for years and told everyone that he was missing. And he has, some mental disabilities, so he was unable to
Oh.
advocate for himself. Marty says,
Um.
"Speaking of kids being trapped by their folks, have either of you watched the new horror movie Cobwebs?" Yes, I
Mm-mm.
have seen Cobwebs. I enjoyed it. It seemed like a lot of people preferred Talk to Me, which was also very good in my opinion.
I
But
want to watch that.
yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. But I kind of enjoyed Cobweb just a little bit more because it had a few twists, unexpected twists and turns, and I really like that. Also, Cobweb did little things that were kind of homages to multiple genres of horror within the same thing. Like you had
Oh, cool.
a creepy parent story in a way,
Mm-hmm.
then you had a supernatural story in a way, and then you had some flourishes that would remind you of Japanese horror. And then there's even some moments that remind you of something like The Good Son, or they
Oh,
have a
okay.
creepy kid factor. It's got a lot going on. In my opinion, the one thing that I think kind of messed up the movie was the CGI towards the end. I
Oh.
think it was so good until those few CGI moments at the end that I felt, because they weren't great. Like with CGI, it either has to be really, really good
Mm-hmm.
or it's going to come across as cheesy. And because this is a lower budget movie, they didn't really have the money to do what they wanted to do and make it look super good. So it came off looking cheesy, and it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
necessary. I felt like the character they used it on was creepy enough without the added CGI effect, and the face reveal of that character just, it took all the creepiness away from the character when you reveal the face and it's like that's it. That's what you guys did. Yeah, you should have just not showed that.
Yeah, let the imagination do the work.
Yes. But definitely, Talk to Me, that one, um, I would. the reason why I say I enjoyed Cobwebs better than Talk to Me is even though I love the story of Talk to Me, I think the concept was really good. I don't feel like they fleshed out the characters well enough for us to care.
Hmm.
Like, I can't even remember a single character's name in it, and I feel like you have a group of kids, there's only 4 or 5 of them. By the end of the movie, we should know their names, we should know a little bit about their character, but that part really wasn't fleshed out, and it doesn't take a lot of time. You can do that in 7 minutes. You can flesh out characters. Like, if you look
Hmm.
at the opening for The Lost Boys, for example, you get a feel for who Mike and his brother are. You get a feel for who these kids on the dock are that, you know, that they're into up to something. You kinda get a feel for them, but in Talk to Me, they kind of didn't do that, and then the other thing that they did is they made a character 2 characters. I mean, one character black and another character, it looked like he was, Polynesian, but they were still written as white characters. So there's certain little cultural things that it's like, yeah, we wouldn't do that or say that way, but you could tell that they didn't modify the character when they were cast as a black person.
Yeah.
They also didn't hire a hairstylist to do her hair. You could tell that her hair was done by a person that's not familiar with doing textured hair, and I was like, that's not cool. But
Ah.
it was directed by 2 YouTubers, so it's their first time out. Hopefully, in the future, they will learn to include certain cultural aspects to make characters feel more authentic. It's not that her character was bad or wrong. I'm not saying
Hmm.
that. It just felt inauthentic because there are little tiny little cultural things that how do I describe? I'll give you an example. Like
Hmm.
the character of Guillermo on What We Do in the Shadows. Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows,
Ah,
the TV
no.
show? Well, the character of Guillermo is he's Latino, and there's little things that he does that it like fleshes out his character, and it makes him seem more authentic as a well-rounded character, written character.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
let's
yeah. Like Tony Man was saying, don't forget my story, Lady Sasha, about the kids and the windows and dad disappearing and the voices they heard telling them to harm themselves.
Oh, he's describing Skinamarink.
Ah, I've been wanting to watch that also. I have like so much stuff on my list, and it's always growing, and I don't always get around to it. Like
Mhm.
I started watching Barbarian before this stream, and it
Oh, it's I love that movie.
yeah. I mean, I'm only at the scene where she made it to her interview, but nothing's gotten crazy yet.
Oh, keep watching. I love when the movie switches gears. It starts out as one thing and it becomes something completely different, and I love that. Oh, by the way, Cobweb I think is on streaming now. It was
Ah,
only in the movies a very short amount of time, and I'm
limited
sure,
release.
yeah. Well, sometimes they go right to streaming if they don't get enough box office numbers. Then
Hmm.
they pull them from the theater and stick them on streaming. I think Talk to Me is probably gonna stay in the theater at least 1 or 2 more weeks. It seems to be doing really, really well. Um, it had a low budget and it's way surpassed. I think it's already made like 25 million or so.
Hmm.
So I think they're gonna keep it out there as long as it's profitable. Tony Man says, "Buckle up, HR. You're in for a ride." Oh, yeah, agent.
Yeah,
That's your nickname is HR.
yeah. No, that's
Um,
cool. Let me see. Yeah, I think you had told me about there's like a titty monster in the movie.
yeah. um, Marty says, "Love what we do in the shadows. Remember, guys, we're werewolves, not swearwolves." Yes.
Oh, I pulled up the wrong one. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a quote from What We Do in the Shadows, where the werewolves actually do say, "Remember, guys, we're werewolves, not swearwolves." And Cryptomeria says, "I know the feeling. I have to remind myself to watch movies. My head is in news and politics." Yeah, be
Ah,
careful with that, Cryptomeria, because it can watching a lot of news, it's a hard balance because you want to remain informed about what's happening around you, but
yeah,
for your own mental health, sometimes you have to take a break from it because all of it can be so draining,
yeah.
um, especially right now. And I always remind people, we just went through a global pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is a collectively traumatic experience. Even though we act like everything's fine and we're fine, that was a
Yeah.
traumatic experience, and we have to kind of regroup, and
Yeah.
it's okay to take time to regroup. Things are not back to normal yet.
Yeah. I mean, I still remember how scared people were. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I even had a pizza delivery guy tell me, yeah, like we have people that won't open the door. They tell us to just leave it there. They won't even sign the receipt.
Mhm,
Yeah, they just say, I'm not signing it. You hold on to it.
mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And then I heard, I could be wrong, that there's a new wave of COVID coming through now.
Yeah, most likely there is because just like with the flu and with, other
Yeah.
forms of SARS, it mutates. Viruses always mutate.
Yeah.
So,
Um, I mean,
now
we
what's
may as,
scary, oh my god, I went to get my, COVID booster shot, and
mhm.
on the app for Walgreens when you go, it's asking now, "Do you want your, the, polio, what's the other one?
Jesus.
Whooping cough," and then there was a warning that in Florida, it being Florida, there's an outbreak of, oh god, what's it called? Leprosy.
Oh,
I was
wow.
like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, already the polio thing threw me for a loop because 'cause I'm like,
Um,
"People are getting polio again?" Like, people haven't really been getting polio since, like, the 1950s, and that's back, and now
um,
leprosy, I'm like, the whole, anti-vax thing might be backfiring on people because
yeah.
when you don't vaccinate for these things, they come back.
Yeah.
Oh,
My best guess is that like the mutations of COVID, they could just be after effects of people who were infected and now they're just more susceptible to
yeah,
other things.
could be. Let's see here. Cryptomira says, "It's so hard seeing my American friends go back to normal, and we had restrictions an extra year. It wasn't fair."
Yeah, I agree.
Um,
I
you
wish we had remained restricted longer.
Yeah, I was gonna tell you that it may not seem fair to you, but you're probably safer because like I said, I have to bring up again. In Florida, we didn't have a lot of restrictions because we have a tourism economy, and of course, our
Hmm.
governor didn't want to lose tourist dollars, but we ended up losing 1,000,000 people, like
Yeah.
1,000,000. It was like 900 and something thousand, but I'm just rounding up. 1,000,000 people literally died, and it was also very difficult for people like me because I'm immunocompromised, and to see some people's posts that were just like, well, if your immune system's not strong enough to deal with it, so be it. And it's like, why not just say fuck you and die? Like you realize what you're saying when you say that. Not everyone has a strong immune system, and it's kind of
No.
fucked up to have people basically say, well, you should just die because you don't have a strong immune system. But yeah,
I
so
mean,
there's
that's the same as telling a disabled person you never should have been born.
Yeah, it's so hurtful. There were times where I really had to take breaks from Twitter because, like, people were really out of pocket. And what made it more difficult in the US to take more precautions is because our government didn't want to fill in the gaps. Like, for instance, like, example we heard in Canada, when they
Hmm.
had people under restriction, they received a monthly stipend so that they'll be able to, get food, pay their rent, live.
Hmm.
Here, there were places that wanted to do restrictions, but they didn't have um any stipend or any safety net for when they did that. So it's kind of half. And unfortunately, a lot of companies took advantage of that and bought up a lot of properties, increased the rents, and relabeled them luxury apartments. And now we have a homeless epidemic because people
Yeah.
couldn't afford to stay where they're staying at. It really sucked what people did, and I won't even get into the PPP loan thing. There's a lot of people that took advantage of that and were
Mm.
fraudulent, so the government's having to deal with that. They just did not, take the same precautions, but, let me go back into the comments. Marty says, "Really annoyed Entertainment One has been sold as a result. England and Ireland isn't getting last voyage of the Demeter."
Oh,
Well, that's crappy.
yeah. I mean, I'm at least on my end, it's like I'm dying to see that one. So I mean, I can only imagine how that feels.
I need to read that. I read that the Last Voyage of the Demeter is based on one chapter of Bram Stoker's Dracula, which I have that book here. I should read. that chapter before watching the movie, just out of curiosity, because I have that. I have Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which I haven't read, but I
Oh,
have it. I just happened to get it because my mother bought them for me, but I never got around to reading them. So this is a good chance to read them.
yeah,
Crypto Miria says we had to pay it back.
yeah. Um, I know on our end, I think we only received a payment once and then never again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And people, all they did was they just spent it frivolously. They didn't actually put it to proper use.
Mm-hmm.
So
Or
that's probably, mhm.
I wonder if they could have just like froze everything. Because I read about one country, I can't recall which country it was, but it was in Europe, that froze, like they froze payment on everything. Like everyone's
Oh,
rents, mortgages were just frozen, like it put into um, forbearance, or just basically paused until the
hmm,
epidemic, so that way people would be able to survive.
yeah, we should do that. They should have done that for us.
Hmm.
But instead, I was hearing weird stories about, oh, some women were grateful that they didn't have to wear bras anymore because they were at home.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's a weird thing to actually say. But I mean, if you want to take that as a pro, I'm like, okay, fine.
And also the whole working at home thing, it seemed like some of these companies, I know we're getting really off topic. We'll come back to Orphan in a minute, but let me just say this. I would think that they would be more happy with the work at home programs, because you don't have to pay overhead for an office. Because it kind of
Mhm.
never made sense after people had home computers to have someone get in a car, drive from their suburb to the city, or one place to another place, to just sit down at a desk with another computer. Like it
Mhm.
made sense for years to just have them work from home if they're just going to be on a computer. But these
Yeah.
companies just seem like they want to micromanage people, or like what is the appeal of wanting to pay rent and utilities for a cubicle space for people to just sit at computers? Like that doesn't make logical sense.
Mm-mm.
Those type of things could have easily been work from home situations.
Hmm.
And there's studies that show that people's productivity would go up when they work from home.
It can, yeah. I mean, I work from home, and I know like right now they're talking about dragging me back into the office, which I'm not too happy about, but it definitely can be more productive because you don't have any distractions going on around you or
Hmm.
overhearing coworkers that are talking too loud on the phone.
Hmm. Marty says that they had a rent break for a year where he's at in Ireland.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's something that would have been helpful here in the States. It really would have
Yeah.
been. Cryptomania says same, but I know people who blew it by not paying anything. Soon as the freeze came off, they got evicted. Wow. Well, there's always going to be people that are going to take advantage of things and not do what they should do.
Yeah.
But back to Orphan, who should have what she should have done is not pretending to be a 10-year-old little girl and try to seduce her own adoptive father.
Yeah.
That was never gonna work. I do like the sequences with her and the kids. It kind of reminded me of do you remember the Macaulay Culkin movie with Elijah Wood called The Good Son?
Yes.
Those sequences kind of remind me of that movie, the way it was executed.
That first made me think about the bird getting hit with the paintball.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, she positioned it as, yeah, you hurt this animal, you should put it out of its misery, that's your responsibility. And the little boy's just very squeamish about it, so she takes the brick and I swear even that was vicious. Like she smashed it into the bird. There could have been a more polite way to do that.
Mhm.
But even then, like she lacked emotions. Like she just said it like it was nothing.
You know what they might be basing that off of too, but obviously it's exaggerated for horror factor.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing a story about these adoptees from Russia that had severe emotional problems because the orphanages in Russia were very, very understaffed.
Mm-hmm.
This is like post Cold War, so it's very, very at the time where Russia's like rebuilding, and due to the short staff and the way not just short staff, but also lack of resources. They basically were not given the same type of human touch that infants uh, generally need.
Hmm.
You generally need to hold an infant and nurture an infant, but they were just kind of kept in these bassinets,
Hmm.
you know, all day long, just changed and fed, but there's not enough people to hold them and um, socialize them. So then when they
Hmm.
were being adopted and to families in the UK and in America, they lacked that emotional connectionship. They kind of couldn't connect with the parents at all because they just didn't receive that type of upbringing.
Hmm.
And so there was kind of a problem with the families trying to give them back to the orphanages and declaring them, which makes it even worse. That's got to be horrible for a child. Cryptomania says it happened in Romania as well. Yes.
Yeah,
And
it was
the
brutal.
character yeah, the character of Esther, they may be kind of taking that piece from real life and writing it into her character of her not bonding with people and making it more horrific by having her be cold towards animals.
I was also like that didn't occur to me, but I kind of figured like she had some sort of disassociation because she
Mm,
was able to play well at having like emotions, concern,
mhm.
excitement, but yeah, like when she was around like by herself, you actually saw her real face. Like she would just take
Yes.
the mask off.
Tony Man says, "Does anyone remember Hide and Seek, Dakota Fanning and De Niro?" I vaguely remember that movie.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember what happened at the end. I just remember them being in a house that was flooded with water, but that's all I can remember.
I don't remember if I've seen that one. Is that the one where they're also mourning a no, that's a different movie. No, hide and seek, I don't recall.
Mhm. Now let's talk a little bit about Orphan First Kill, which is more of a prequel than
Yeah.
a sequel, I guess. Um,
Um, it's funny, that's the only movie I've ever heard of where it spoils its own ending.
yeah.
But it's referenced in the first Orphan as well, so it's you should if you've seen it, you should know what to expect going in.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then they did touch on the I don't want to say the P word in reference to Esther and the one security guard, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean he you could tell he was a deviant. Like he really looked
Yeah.
at her like this is my dream girl,
Mhm.
and she took advantage of that. I mean, obviously she was aware, and she had him come into her room just so that she could kill him and get loose.
Mhm.
I mean, which is very it's calculating, it's clever on her part. You see that okay, well for an older person, she obviously does have like a very developed way of thinking.
Mhm.
Even the way she kind of trained that other um, I don't know why I'm trying to say inmate, but the other patient.
Mhm.
um, she had a thing for candy, so she would kind of like sick her on people and just give her the
Yeah.
reward.
Mhm.
Which it was kind of like she was treating this person as a pet. Like I don't know. She gave her little treats.
Mhm.
Um,
Also, I like let me ask the chat first. Has everyone in the chat seen Orphan First Kill? I want to ask before we start to spoil it, or whether we are. Well, while you guys are answering, we'll just talk about in general terms, and then after we see the answers, we'll decide whether we spoil it or not. But I enjoyed Orphan First Kill.
yeah,
It
I
did,
liked it more
yeah.
than the first film.
Mm. I think
I
the
mean,
pacing was better. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's probably what it was. Like it's I mean, it kept steady. It didn't slow down. It didn't like pick up and rush. Um, in the first kill, I forget because I don't remember how the Max, how what had been done to her. Like she didn't stuff the pillow over her face, I think, or I could be wrong. Rather not my cup of tea.
Oh, you mean you'd rather not watch Orphan First Kill, Tony Man? Is that what you're saying? Because I think you would actually like it. I actually do think you would
Yeah,
like it. It's a little bit more, how do I say? There's more action in it than the first Orphan movie. The first Orphan movie is very much a slow burn thriller with a
yeah,
reveal at the end, whereas the second Orphan movie is a little bit more. It's still a thriller, but it's a little bit more action oriented. And then there's a
yeah,
twist that comes the first third of the movie. The twist comes fairly early, and then you'll the story goes into a different direction. Marty says, I haven't, but I don't mind spoilers. Jen said she adored the Orphan First Kill and said it was
hmm
more fun than the first. Yeah, so she's in agreement with
yes.
us.
And I think that's probably like the sequel thing. Like since they've already set up the characters, we already know some of Esther's background, so they instead of
Mhm.
explaining things, they just moved forward.
Okay. Tony Man says, really, Lady Shasha, maybe I'll give it a go, so spoil away. Well,
Okay,
here's
cool.
what I'll do.
Whoops.
Well,
Real
how about we
stories.
yeah, the real stories they're based on are almost more creepy. Yes,
Yes.
Cryptomeria, if you I don't think you were here at the beginning, but I showed a little clip that I made about four children, including Natalia Grace, that had, well, let me say not children, they are actually adults, but they are adults who, no, one was a child. Um, one child did impersonate another child in 1928,
Yeah.
but the other three were adults that impersonated children. So I posted it on my channel as well on what I just watched, and I posted it on Instagram on my Instagram, which is at Horror Freak, and I posted it where else? I posted on Twitter, which I don't care. You can put the X there all you want to. It's Twitter. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I even retweeted that just that way anybody who was interested in the stream, they could have some more
yeah.
background information as well.
Yeah, Cryptomiri says it's so scary. Oh, what I was
Yeah.
gonna say about how we talk about Orphan First Kill, since you guys are okay with us spoiling it, I hate that you guys aren't gonna get the same impact of the twist. But if you watch the documentary for Natalia Grace, you'll kind of get an idea of the twist. Tony Man says, I don't mind spoilers. It's not where you're going. I'm more interested in the journey and how you got there. Okay.
Yes.
And False Proxy says they haven't seen First Kill either.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so what I'll say is this then. If you watch the documentary of the strange case of Natalia Grace, you find out that um, Natalia's parents aren't as innocent as they
Mm-mm.
proclaim to be. And in Orphan First Kill, it takes a similar premise where the parents are not as innocent. Well, at least one of them is not
Yeah.
as innocent as they seem to be. So, yes, Esther is still an evil orphan, but she's not the only evil person in the movie. So,
Yeah. I mean, I'm tempted to spoil it just because I loved that twist so much.
mhm.
And then even the son gets in on it.
Yes.
But that makes me curious because, okay, obviously Max disappeared, so I don't know. Um, I mean, mom was involved with that, obviously, but I don't remember how Esther got a hold of her.
Do you mean
The first orphan.
oh, okay. I don't remember either. Cryptomiri says, I
Mm.
haven't seen it, but I've seen her documentary. It's twisted.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's very
Yes.
warped on both sides. It's kind of
Mhm.
like the parents. I don't know if they just kind of what do you call it? Kind of like a group or a shared psychosis that they got just from being
Yeah.
around her, or like they just. I mean, they obviously grew to like really, really hate her, and I think even when the mic was left on, they had mentioned that yeah, she took a fall down the stairs.
Mhm. Well, they mentioned someone kicking her down the stairs. The son says something to the effect of, "I didn't tell them about her getting kicked down the stairs," but he doesn't say who kicked her down the stairs.
Yeah,
And mind you, this is a little person that has scoliosis. Like, that's really bad to,
yeah,
like, to do to somebody.
yeah.
Um,
Is Natalia Grace the girl whose parents abandoned her because they thought she was a grown woman? They were arrested, right? What happened to all of them?
yes, they were brought up on charges. They left her in an apartment. They got
Hmm.
what they did is they legally had her age changed to 22. Then they got her on state medical benefits because she is a little person,
Hmm.
and they left her in an apartment by herself, and they moved to Canada. And so they were brought up on charges of child neglect
At that point,
because it
yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
You go first. I didn't mean to
Oh, I
interrupt.
was I was just gonna say that, um when they did that, there was still ambiguity about her true age. It had not been completely verified whether she was 12 to 14 years old at the time, or whether she was 20 something years old. Earlier in the show, uh, horror retrospective said that there was some paperwork that may indicate that she was born in 1989, and there's some
Hmm.
paperwork that indicates she was born in 2006. So
Yeah.
it's really, really up in the air as to what her true. We know from looking at her that she clearly was not the age that was specified on the adoption papers, because she was
Yeah.
meant to be in elementary school. They showed her pictured next to another little person that has the same form of dwarfism, and you can
Hmm.
see the age difference. But the discrepancy is we don't know whether she was 14 years old or whether she was in her 20s at the time.
See, the thing about that makes me curious, she stayed with other families, so
Mhm.
one would suppose that they had photos of her too. So why does no one look them up and, ask for
Exactly.
the photos and say, well, let's see what she looked like during this period,
Yeah, the
compared.
only answer I can give is that that adoption agency in Florida needs to be investigated,
Hmm.
because they should have that information.
Well, not just that, but there's also that adoption scam where they were pushing people to quickly adopt her, but they were asking for some ridiculous fee.
Mhm.
So I mean, I don't believe that she was entirely involved in that fraud because she didn't get any of that money. It's just all she did was move on and just mislead people.
Mhm. Yeah, the family, Cryptomania says she was adopted by another family. I think the charges were dropped. I don't think they formally adopted her. They just allowed her to move in with them. Their names were, um, I just remember the first names, Antoine and no, I do remember the name. Antoine and Christine Mans, I think, were the family that she moved in with. They were her neighbors when she was left by herself in the apartment, which was on the
Hmm.
second floor of this place, by the way.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
have this little person with scoliosis trying to go up, 2 flights of stairs. I mean, it's maybe they figured that she would just stay in the apartment and never come out. But the neighbors saw her struggling, and they basically just invited her to live with them.
Yeah. Um, is it possible she didn't realize her age? I I don't think so because they interviewed the mom in the documentary also, and she confirmed 2006 the birth. There wasn't any mention of 1989 until I saw that episode of Dr. Phil.
Yeah. And also, when you watched her on Dr. Phil, how was her composure? Like, was she speaking on her age level, or did she seem delayed or stunted?
No, I mean, she was speaking like just you and I, which I mean, to me still says she's an adult. She's not a little kid. But people seem so dead set on just wanting to believe she's a child. It's like during the documentary, I'm like, no, she's a grown woman.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when she was left alone, it's like, no, I believe she actually was an adult. So, yeah, I mean, I can understand that. Like, they don't want somebody mooching off of them. They set her up so that she could have her own place, even though they didn't deliver groceries often. She had a neighbor that would take her so that she could use her food stamp card.
Mm-hmm.
She is smarter than she seems. It's calculated, yeah.
Mm.
Conniving. It's kind of like she's made a career off of living off of other people, just so that she could have a free ride. Yeah.
Says, have either of you seen the trailer? I have seen the trailer. What I will do, I'll pull it up on my phone. I think it's Natalia Grace Speaks, and
Um,
I'll play the 30 seconds.
so really quick, Tony Mann says, have either of you seen the trailer for? I'm not sure what PT2 stands for. It's only 30 seconds
Oh,
long, but
part
she's.
two.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
It's
Yeah,
part
that
two of
should.
the documentary. I think I found it.
Hmm.
It's on Investigation Discovery. All right, let me put the volume back on my phone. I think I
Um,
found the Domino's app today and become got an ad. My rewards member to earn points toward free pizza. The things that Michael said that I've done is the lie. He was trying to make me seem like I was just this big crazy person. That's not true. I'm gonna tell people what really happened because I didn't get that chance. This is my story, and I'm only gonna say it once. Yeah, she
yes,
sounds like there's
an
nothing.
adult.
Making headlines around the world. Oops, sorry. She sounds like there's nothing delayed, so
Mm-mm.
I don't see what the issue was with her being able to say what her own age is.
Yeah, I mean, she's articulate. She sounds
Mhm,
like an adult. I see her face in that, and I see an adult. I don't see a child. Like she doesn't have a soft face. You can definitely see where
mhm,
her face has changed, like the same way an adult would age.
mhm. And just since I have it pulled up on my phone anyways, I'll play the clip that I played at the beginning of the show. I'll play it from my channel for, Cryptomeria because, they came a little bit later, so I'm gonna
Okay.
replay I'm sure it. You've heard of the it's 1 minute and 47 seconds, so it won't be too long, but, I'll be holding my phone up for a minute there.
Oh,
Come
and then
on.
just really quick, Proxy says, I will definitely watch the documentaries before watching Orphan First Kill. I would recommend that actually, just because you would have some background, and then you can kind of see where the stories touch on the documentary and then where they
Mhm,
deviate. So yeah, I think you would go in at least having a better sense of knowing. That way, you actually know what's going to come at you.
mhm. Alright, here's the little clip that I made earlier. Horror thriller Orphan. But did you know these creepy true stories of imposter orphans? March 10th, 1928, 9-year-old Walter Collins disappeared. In August, Walter returned, only it wasn't Walter. It was 12-year-old runaway Arthur Hutchins Jr., who tried to pass himself off as Walter. When Walter's mother insisted that this was not the real Walter, which you can see written all over her face in this picture, she was committed to a psych ward. She was later released when Arthur admitted to the police that he really wasn't Walter. The movie The Changeling was inspired by this story, not the George C. Scott one, the Angelina Jolie movie. June 13th, 1994, 13-year-old Nicholas Barclay disappeared. In 1997, 23-year-old Frédéric Pierre Bourdin claimed to be 16-year-old Nicholas and even lived with the family for almost 5 months until it was discovered in 1998 that he was an imposter. Barbara Skorlova, a 33-year-old woman who posed as a 13-year-old girl, was adopted in the Czech Republic. Then when caught, she fled to Norway, bound her chest, and passed herself off as a 13-year-old missing boy named Adam. The parents of the real Adam are believed to have helped Barbara deceive Norwegian child care authorities. It's believed that she was the inspiration for the horror movie Orphan. Then there is Natalia Grace Barnett, who came to the U.S. as an adoptee from the Ukraine. She had previous temporary placements prior to being adopted by the Barnett. When they discovered she had precocious puberty, they petitioned to have her legal age changed from 8 to 22. The problem is Natalia may have really only been 12 to 14 years old when the Barnetts left her alone in an apartment and moved to Canada. She later went on to live with Antoine and Cynthia Mann. Cynthia said she believed that Christine Barnett was inspired to legally change Natalia's age by the film Orphan. Join me in Horror Retrospective Saturday as we talk. Yeah. So
Yeah,
those were the other ones I found, although they're probably not the only ones, but
yeah.
those are the ones that came up.
Oh yeah,
Cryptomeria says, I kind of need a bunch of self-care and cat videos before this video.
yeah.
And then also, that's not a kid.
Yes. No, it's not a kid at all. I mean, especially when you were playing that, and they showed the two photos of Natalia Grace even side by side on the poster.
Hmm.
She looks young on one end, and then she looks older on the other end. And I mean, obviously that was done on purpose for the advertising, but anyone can see, yeah, she obviously looks like an adult. She's gotten older. She has
Hmm.
lines on her face. Her face isn't filled out or like a chipmunk, the way a child's would be.
Hmm. And also, Cryptomeria says, not to be graphic, but the parents thought they were getting a 5-year-old. She had full hair and matured young, but that's not normal even with dwarfism. She was an adult. Here's the
Um,
thing. The only reason why I combat that is if, for example, she really was born in 2006, it still is not, they still didn't put the right birth date on there, but that would have made her
mm-mm,
around 14 to 16. By 14 to 16, most people have hair in that area. So that's
mm-hmm.
the only thing that throws me is I don't know whether she was a 16-year-old or she was a 22-year-old, but she definitely was not a 5-year-old.
Well, the thing that makes me curious is, okay, how did they see the hair? Like, was she preparing
They
to
were
be
bathing
given a
her.
bath?
Yeah, they were giving her a bath.
Okay, so if she knows she's an adult, then why did she agree to let them bathe her with?
Exactly.
She could have
Even if
done
she
it
was
herself.
Even if she was 12, at 12, I would have been like, "I can do this myself."
Yeah,
So
that's
that's what
just
makes
weird.
yeah, that's what makes it, it's so inconsistent because that's also why I asked the question of because I didn't see the Dr. Phil interview, so I don't know how she, interviews. But as we saw in that 30-second clip, she seems to have all her mental, faculties. There's nothing delayed, so they're at 12 years old, she had that then, and she could have told them, "I'm 12," like, for example, and we're just saying, I'm 12. I've had 2 families before you. I'm not a 5-year-old. Or if she was 16, or if she was 22, we know that she was, fraudulent if she was 22 and doing this stuff. So it's just there's no reason for her not to be able to say what her age was.
Yeah. And she was actually, Natalia was actually born in 2003. I don't know why I said
Oh, 2006.
2006.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
repeated that too. My bad. Thank you, Dawn. I appreciate that.
Um, but yeah, I mean, there's just so much weird stuff. And even the
Mhm.
documentary has a twist where they mentioned that the mom wouldn't sleep with her husband, only very rarely.
Mhm.
And then we later discover that mom's a pervert too.
Yeah. Mhm. Crypto Myria says there's so much weird on both sides. Exactly. Like somebody's got to do a supercut of just the scenes of that father trying to recount stories. It's just
I
the
can
mother is
see.
smarter than him because she's just as nefarious, but she's smarter because she didn't allow herself to be interviewed.
Hmm. Um,
And I wonder what even was their purpose for wanting to adopt so fast. It almost seems like they wanted to, because it, there were hints that it seemed like they wanted to start their own church or their own organization or something.
um, I mean, it sounds ugly, but they probably were trying to get a tax break. That's why they adopted.
Mm. Mhm.
Oh, I wonder that as well.
Mhm.
Um, Natalia is currently 19, will be 20 in a few weeks. And that's the thing, like there are so many, as far as I remember, she has three different birth dates.
Mhm.
And she has claimed all three, so it's kind of like, well, which one's the real one?
Also, there's gotta be a medical way of determining this too. I'm pretty sure whether it's
Um,
dental records or, um, there's a bone density test that
yeah,
determine people's age. There shouldn't be a question anymore.
yeah. I mean, I think they did both. She had the bone density as well as having her teeth checked.
Yeah, so I would just go by whatever the bone density and the teeth say, then that's the age that I'm gonna go with.
Yeah, I mean, they did say she's an adult. Whatever her pretend age is these days, I don't know. I got confused already.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I think it's the 1986. Yeah, the Dr. Phil, they talk about that on her episode where she was interviewed.
Mhm.
I for some reason I remembered 89. It's like I flipped my six around.
And those that would make her, in her 30s, almost 40. So, and
Yeah, I
I don't really believe that one. I don't think that's she's that old.
um yeah, I mean I think she did in the interview say she was 30. I could be wrong on that one also.
Very interesting. I gotta watch that interview. And I mean, the clip that I played, the 30-second clip, that's supposed to be for her, the part two of the documentary that we were just talking about, the strange case I'm sorry, the curious case of Natalia Grace. And the part two is supposed to be called Natalia Speaks. And it just says summer 2023. There's no release date for when that part comes on. But I definitely look forward to hearing her tell her story because we've heard from everyone, and with Dr. Phil. his show has come under fire for a lot of shenanigans. So I kind of trust ID Network more than Dr. Phil because he's going to go for whatever is the most salacious thing.
Yeah, sensationalism. It's all about
Yes.
the ratings and um, well, I guess YouTube kind of does that too. We have ratings and we have reads of how many people are watching. What do they call it? The Nelson.
Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, the vampire cat. If you go see my
Go by teeth, I'd be an 80-year-old vampire cat.
yeah,
Dawn also says the adoption agency Shepherd Care released a statement denying doing Natalia's adoption. Says that they were taking legal action against Michael. Oh,
hmm,
now the plot thickens. So then who
yeah,
did the adoption? This story gets know who we need on this. I mean, I love ID Network. You guys are great, but we need
yeah.
Netflix on this. We need Netflix to get to the bottom. Their documentaries get to the bottom of things.
Oh, Dr. Phil had his license revoked.
Oh yeah.
Over
There was
prescribing, or what was the
no,
reason?
no. He was I don't know what the full story is because there's two sides to it. The one side of it is that he had a consensual relationship with a patient. The other side of it is that he had a non-consensual relationship that was an SA to a
Uh-huh.
patient. So depending on which person is telling the truth, that's why it had to do with an indecent thing that happened between him and a patient. That's why on there used to be a forum called Television Without Pity, and we used to always call him PhD Phil because he had his license removed, so we never called him Dr. Phil. Um,
Yeah. Um, PhD Phil. Their foe. He's not a doctor.
mhm.
Hmm. I
Dawn
don't
Smith
know.
also says that the
Uh,
Barnetts had her legal birth year changed from 2003 to 1989. So that's where the 1989 comes from them changing it to 1989. But
okay.
the question stands, how did they get to change it without dental records or a bone density test?
In Dr. Phil, they mentioned she did have her dental checked.
But is that what the bar was that does that correspond to the age that she's giving now or the age that the Barnetts
Um,
are saying
I
she is?
I don't recall them mentioning an age. I just know that they confirmed that yeah, she was older than she had been stating she was.
Yeah, well,
There's
at
too
this
many
point,
holes in this.
yeah, it's just too many holes. At this point, whether she was born in 2003 or 1989, both would make you an adult at this point. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully going forward, she is able to recover her life and live with the Antoine and I think it's Christine is her first name. No, Cynthia. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
Antoine and Cynthia, and that they're able to just go on about their lives in a positive way because
Yeah.
the beginning of the story is real messed up. Uh,
Yeah.
Tony Man says, I want to know how Dawn knows so much. She's done the research. She's probably watched more documentaries and read. There are articles written about this too. I just didn't get a chance to read through all of them because Google has article after article after article on not just Natalia Grace, but also Barbara Strolo- Stroloka. Did I say it?
Strivloka, or I already said
Strivloka.
it.
I
I called her
apologize.
Loka.
I apologize to Czech Republic people.
Lovia.
Yeah, for my mispronunciation. I'm trying. Walter,
Skarlova.
there was Walter, Arthur, and Frederic. I forgot to say that Frederic Bourdain is also known as Le Chameleon because he's done that more than once. I only
Oh
put in
wow.
a video the one time where he tried to impersonate the Barkley, the young Barkley young man. But yeah, he what's wild is he literally lived with the family for 5 months and he doesn't look anything like he wasn't even the right age either.
Hmm. Yeah, oh, the 16-year-old, is that the one?
Yeah, the
Pretending to
16
be
year old.
16?
Yeah, he was pretending to be 16 when he was 23.
Oh, wow. I guess he wanted
Yeah.
to go back to high school too.
And he wasn't he what's wilder is he was not from the US. He was from France, but he lied and said that he had been S trafficked and that he had lived in France and that's why his accent was different. And it's like, no, if you disappear at 13, your accent is all pretty much fully formed. But
I mean,
very
I've heard of where inflections can change or
interesting.
pronunciation because that's what you hear.
Hmm.
Oh, read the parable cause affidavit. March 2011, Easy Dental said 8 to 9. July 2012,
12.
dentist said 6 to 9.
Interesting. Thank you, Dawn. I love that you're on top of
Oh,
this. This is like
oh,
you are helping us. The
yeah.
probable cause affidavit. Yes.
Yeah, because I just got like an overview just because I was prepping.
I
So
just
I didn't
saw
really,
I just saw Tony Man's comment. I'm sorry. It says plot twist Dawn is really Natalia. She's on here clearing her name.
oh, Lordy. I missed that one. That's
Hmm.
funny.
And Cryptomeria says maybe.
Oops, I missed that one. I was going to click it.
As we get ready to wrap this up, what are you guys' thoughts on the first Orphan movie if you've seen it? Like on a let's do a rating scale of 1 to 10. How did you feel about the Orphan movie? And while
Well,
while they're doing that, we'll give our ratings. What did you think?
I never give perfect scores. I would
Hmm.
say maybe an 8.
For the first one, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking the second one. I would give that one an 8.
Yeah.
The first one, I'd probably give it a 5, just dead in the middle.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I would do the same. For the first one, about I would say 5.5. 5.5. It's slightly so it's slightly towards the better side. And then for the second one, I would probably give it a 7. Yeah, 6.5, 7.
Mm.
Um,
I'm sticking to my outlandish theory. It's a better plot twist.
mhm.
Um, I just keep wondering why the family wouldn't go to the cops or CPS.
Yeah, they seem like they've got something to hide. But the part where we mentioned about the father and the son at the top of the staircase during the documentary with the hot mic, and the son says, "I
Oh,
didn't tell
yeah.
them about her getting kicked down the stairs." They probably didn't wouldn't want to call CPS because it would show that they were abusing her.
Yeah.
Even if she is a grown woman, she's still a person with dwarfism and with scoliosis. So you're abusing a disabled person.
Let's see. I cringe watching the trailer. 7 out of 10 says Cryptomania.
Mm,
Cryptomera. Cryptomania. Wow.
mhm.
You're rich. Dragging in
Sorry,
all that
folks.
crypto.
Uh, Dawn Smith says, "Sorry, folks, no plot twist here. My real name is Dawn Smith." That's very, very cool. But like I said, I appreciate you, Dawn. I like people that come with facts, that come with um citation, and you gave us a
Yeah.
citation. You told us which document to look up. So I'm always going to big up
Yeah.
people that do that.
And then correct you just because I kept misstating.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm not the type of person that gets offended by being corrected because I feel
No.
like we want to have the correct information. Like what are we talking for if we're not going to talk about the correct information? So I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, I mean,
Um
it also adds to the conversation. It
yes.
gives for um, more thinking on different points.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I did like that.
And it's funny because I was talking to someone earlier this week about how your audience reflects you. I don't know if you saw that news story with there's a streamer named Kai Sinnott who promised to give out a PlayStation 5 in Union Square, New York, and his fans
Mm.
showed up and started tearing the place apart.
Oh, wow.
And we were talking about how people's audiences are a reflection of them. There's another YouTuber I watch. Her name is oh goodness, why am I Fumi Desolu Vold is her full name. Fumi Desolu Vold. And she has this very like elegant manner of speaking. Like she'll just open her videos and she'll be like, "All right, my darlings, how are you?" And
Oh,
in
that's
her
cute.
it's so lovely. In her comment section, people speak to each other that way. They'll be like, "How are you, darling?" And they're very elegant. And so when and I see in our chat people are also being extremely intelligent. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
compliment because it's like your audience reflects who you are. So when I see people in the chat and they're intelligent and they're knowledgeable and I'm like, it just makes me feel better because I'm like, this is the direction that I want to go in.
Yeah, I mean it's there's something about the host that appeals to them. So I think
Hmm.
that's what people are drawn to.
Yes. And I expand it to musicians too. If your audience tears things up, then you have to wonder what is it in your music or what is it in your persona that encourages people to tear things up.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, he's a commentator. I don't remember his name right now, but if he mentions like a certain channel in his video, people will go over to that person and start just like spamming them or harassing them.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I've seen that before.
Yeah, but the thing is, he doesn't encourage them to do it. He's just giving his own commentary, whether negative, positive, and they just go after the person.
Hmm.
Let's see, 5 out of 10. It kept me busy, but has rewatchability. Has no rewatchability.
Mm.
Um, I would definitely rewatch Orphan. I mean, I didn't
Yeah, I
mind it.
would
It's
too.
just, but you're right. First Kill had way more action. I think that's why I preferred it.
Cryptomeria says, "Why go to Canada? We have enough criminals up here." I don't know. I think wait, I do. I think it was because the son that was gifted was accepted to a college in Canada, and
Yes.
because he was underage, they wanted to be close to the college because clearly he couldn't live in a dormitory at 11 to 12 years old. Um,
Yes.
Cryptomania says, "Pleasure to meet you, Dawn. Thank you." I think I read that one.
Yeah.
It says, "Pleasure to meet you, Dawn. Thank you for the discussion. I don't think she is a victim. She claims, but why come? Wait, but why come up here? It doesn't make sense about coming up to Canada. I believe."
Yeah.
Tony Man apologizes, saying, "I was kidding, Dawn. My apologies if it was taken the wrong way. That wasn't my intention." And Marty says, "Oh." Oh,
Shite.
yeah, oh, shite. Let me say it like him. That was a complete mess. No organization, and some poor hot dog vendor had his stuff stolen and he was beaten up. Yes, and also the hot dog vendor also appeared to be a little person. So
Oh,
you
wow.
beat up a little person and stole all his merchandise. Just terrible.
That's just low.
They were jumping on random people's cars and breaking the windows, and I'm like, I would feel so terrible if my car was parked outside because I was working or I went to the store, and these
Hmm.
kids just came and jumped all over it for no it's just that was
Um,
just really hard to watch.
it it kind of makes me wonder if like he had set them up to go vandalize this place, or if they have like some sort of a code word giveaway for whatever, and
I don't
they're
think I don't think he intentionally set them up to vandalize, but the content of his show attracts children who would vandalize because of the clips I've seen of his show, I've seen when he had Krishan Rock and Blueface on, and Krishan Rock was throwing chairs around and putting holes in his walls of his
geez.
studio. They also were tossing a little person around on his show. So he
Mm,
does stuff on his show that are um, I can't describe it as other way in other terms than violent. Like busting holes in walls and throwing people is violent. So you're already attracting um, kids that have that tendency, and at the same time, you're kind of on a subconscious level saying it's okay for them to behave that way. So when they go out and they want, they're going out to see you and they watch your content, and I'm not saying that's all his content. So let me correct myself because I've only
mhm.
watched a few clips. So I don't want to say that's all his content. I would be misspeaking if I said that. He might do some other stuff that's really awesome. But the fact that those clips were there and they're still up kind of gives the impression that he's okay with violence. So then they're going to kind of act out in that way. But I'm just speculating. I could be totally off base
Mhm.
because I don't watch his show every day. So I'm only speaking based on the information that I have.
Yeah. And then Cryptomera says love and prayers and respect. I love the screen name, Fominky Latte.
Mhm.
What happened to mailed giveaway?
Yeah, that just seems like the easiest thing to do.
I just did that myself. I still need to mail the packages, but I had a giveaway last week, I believe.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I mean, I believe it's still a thing. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
older and
still a
set in
thing.
my ways.
No, it's still a thing, and I would do it just for security reasons, because that's the other thing about YouTube as a platform. It's the type of thing where people can get very, very well, not just YouTube, because he's also on Twitch. Twitch and YouTube, and now, soon TikTok. People can become very, very well known, and the thing about it is sometimes the money doesn't match the status. So you have people who are, by all intents and purposes, famous, but they don't have the money to have round the clock security, for one
Hmm.
thing. When he did this giveaway, he would have had to notify police, he would have had to have crowd control. These are things that cost money. He would
Hmm.
have probably had to hire off duty officers to do security. And I don't know. I mean, there are YouTubers that are millionaires. I don't know if he is one. He could be one, but typically those things cost a lot of money. So it just wasn't a good idea for him to do that without those things in place to begin with. And also, it's my understanding he's only like 18 to 20 years old himself. Like he's
Hmm.
not even legal drinking age. So you have
Yeah.
people that are not. I could be mistaken. He could be 23, but I could swear I read that he was just now 18 to 20, but I could be mixing him up with I Show Speed. There's another streamer named I Show Speed. But these guys are very, very young. They don't have the experience in the entertainment industry,
Hmm.
and they must not have the right guidance around them. Like, I don't know what type of agents they might have that could tell them this is not a good idea to do this way.
Hmm.
Yes, yes, that's what we're talking about, the PS5 giveaway. Yes, that
Yeah.
was like Cryptomeria said, it looked like a zombie invasion. The
Yeah.
overhead stuff, it's really, I would be mortified if I saw my child. If I saw my child jumping on someone's car, oh my
I
god, I
know.
would feel terrible. I would be
But
like, what have I what did I miss? But I
it's like some Black Friday stuff, just people attacking
mhm,
and trying to get a hold of stuff they probably don't need.
mhm. And the
Yeah.
thing with some parents is they might not know because in their from their perspective, they're thinking, "Oh, well, my child's fine. He's quietly playing in his room, or she's quietly playing in their room, or
You
they're
never
quietly
know.
on the computer on the room." But if you're not monitoring what your child is watching on their computer while they're quiet in their room, they could be taking in things that aren't so great for them. So it's good for you
Well,
to discuss with them, "What are you watching? Who are you watching? Let me take a look at that." And it doesn't have to be a accusatory thing. You just want to
yeah.
be just nosy enough so you know what's going on.
Well, I mean, yeah, but then I used to watch a lot of like what I can't remember what the channel was called, but they would work on catches for pedophiles. So it's
Oh,
like
oh,
for all we know, there could be somebody in a chat like just grooming your child.
yes, yes, that's true too. That's true too. Cryptomania says toxic narcissistic
Oh, I
personality.
skipped that one. There we go.
Oh, okay. Toxic narcissistic personality. Anyone who says they are an influencer, I write off. Yeah, I don't even like that term because I'm like, I feel like it's such a BS term because like people who call themselves influencers, I think it's because they want to influence things, but
Yeah.
actual people who actually influence things never call like the example I give from when I'm growing up is like Michael Jackson. That was an influencer. He did something, people jumped on it. If
Hmm.
he, wore a certain thing, people jumped. People had copies of his jackets, copies of like he Madonna's another person that when you look at old concert footage of her and you see scads and scads of young ladies showing up to the
Hmm.
concert dressed like Madonna. And she never had like I mean, at that time when she was doing like I'm talking about the Material Girl period,
Yeah.
around that era. She
Lucky
didn't have
Star.
like a clothing line. She didn't have anything in the stores that was Madonna branded. People had to go out and copy her look. That's
Hmm.
influence.
Well, see, I would consider that flattery that they would want to emulate her because
Yes.
she didn't encourage anyone, hey, dress like me.
Mhm. She didn't go on Instagram and go, "Oh, I'm drinking such and such smoothie," and that's
Oh,
not the same thing as things naturally happen. Another example that my sister told me about not too long ago. Well, it was about a year ago. The group BTS, there was a member that used a particular chapstick or lip balm, and the lip balm sold out
Mm,
just because he was seen using it. Like, that's influence when people love
yeah,
you so much that and respect you, that they respect your opinion about things, that they'll go out and say, well, it was good enough for him, I'm going to try that too. That's
yeah.
influence.
I mean, I have, what do you call it? My I don't have sponsors, but I do have affiliates, and I'm like, I don't consider
Hmm.
myself an influencer for that.
No,
It's
that's
just
well.
I'm supporting brands that I actually like.
And also the way YouTube is changing, or direction that I see it going in, it seems like a lot of the rules that they're putting in place are to make YouTube more of a streaming platform.
Mm-hmm.
So the way I'm noticing this is because one of my degrees is in entertainment business. So
Okay.
I'm noticing certain things that are making YouTube more like television. One of the things that's making it more like television are the certain words we can't say. It's pretty much similar to if you were producing a TV show for CBS or NBC. We have to speak in a way that is profitable for sponsors. The way that they're looking at it is, can we put a Johnson and Johnson commercial in front of your YouTube video? So you have to kind of think of your YouTube as, I mean, we were already called channels. Our
Mm-hmm.
shows are called shows. So when you are dealing with sponsors, not only it's important, like you said, to deal with sponsors of products that you truly believe in, but that's like your commercial for your during your show. It's like, I don't know how do I describe it? You basically have to make your mind think of your show as if it was a TV show, even though it's not literally on television. You
Yeah.
still want to run it like it's on television. So
And
you want to be mindful of your sponsors.
and some people do have that professional like TV show
Yes.
about them where everything's scripted. They have a really nice intro, which I appreciate. It's just um, I also like when people are just themselves.
Yes. Very candid.
Mm-hmm.
Like what we're doing right now, it kind of feels more closer to talk radio. The
I
only
can
thing we're
see
missing
that.
is having callers. Caller, are you here?
Um, I've seen YouTubers where they have Skype set up so that they can call in.
Yeah, I'm afraid to do that because I mean, I just feel like someone's gonna call in and say something really, really crazy
I mean,
or really, really, scary, and I'm afraid to do it.
I would just be more concerned about people saying things that they shouldn't say.
Yes, yes, definitely.
But yeah, I am curious about trying that out. I mean, I think it would be fun just having people on for a few minutes and then okay, bye.
Mhm.
Let's see.
Um,
Marty says, I've heard horror stories about influencers who went broke renting out jets, sports cars, and visiting resorts to take photos and broke as hell.
mhm.
To look a certain way. Yeah, I
Yeah.
get that.
Because their brand, if their brand was, luxury, that's a very hard thing for you to maintain if you're not really actually wealthy.
I
And even
mean,
if you were actually wealthy, like for me, if I was actually super wealthy, I probably would not show off what I have because I have a
no.
fear. I would be afraid that someone's going to mug me.
Well, not just
Like,
that, not just that, but you can actually be really simple, like,
mhm,
go to an outlet store, buy a couple of nice things, and people can tell, oh, that you're well off because of the way you're dressed, even though you bought them on discount. They don't know
mhm,
that.
mhm. This is true. Especially coming from Connecticut, I know some people that super wealthy, like, more than you can imagine, still
Mm-hmm.
drive old cars from, like, 1985, 1990, but they have no
Yeah.
car note, still go to thrift stores, but they could buy your whole block if they wanted to, and
Mm-hmm.
it's wild. I think when people get to a certain point, they no longer have a need to impress other people because they just
Yeah.
have so much, they just don't care.
And that's the weird thing. Like here in Austin, rich people wouldn't really dress the part. Like
Mhm,
you might see nice clothes, but or some of them would just show up really grungy to stores, events. So it's
mhm,
like you couldn't even tell they were wealthy. And then we have all of these California transplants, and they're just so concerned with showing off what they have.
Oh, yeah, we're getting that in Florida too. We're getting a lot of California transplants. Um, they, for the most part, are pleasant, but they're still very, very image conscious, more
Mm-hmm.
so than like there are a few. If you go to Miami, definitely image conscious there, but in Central Florida, we're a little bit more laid back than in Miami. We still like to be cute, but it's not. I got to get nipped and tucked and pulled. We're not quite quite that much in Central Florida as South Florida.
Uh, oh, and Cryptomania says today was refreshing. Yeah, was refreshing film talk, a good conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It wouldn't
absolutely.
be the same without you guys in the chat because you contribute to the show.
Yeah, and thanks to
Cryptomeria,
everyone for stopping by. We really appreciate that.
yes. Cryptomeria says Kurt Wheel, there is a line between activism and influence. Depends on how high the stakes are at the table. That's a very good point.
Mm-hmm.
And also says look up C11 and C18 in Canada. We changed our laws and it will impact the global market. C11 and C18 in Canada. I will do that. Also, I don't care about money on my channel. I want to capture the moment in time. Hmm.
Mm. Yeah.
Dawn says, hard to find. Irish Times did a good write up regarding Barbara Strovloka. Barb's dad was leader of a cult, an offshoot of the Grail movement. No parents were tricked. They were in the cult and in on it. Yes,
Yeah.
I did see some of that, especially the parents that of the 16-year-old David that she was impersonating, they knew and they helped her. So
Yeah.
yeah, the parents, that
Um,
is absolutely true. I did not finish reading it. That's why I didn't bring it up because I don't like to speak on things that I don't have a good knowledge on. So if I didn't finish reading something, I won't bring it up because I don't want to look ignorant. So that's why
no,
I did
and
not bring that
yeah.
up because I didn't finish reading the whole thing. But yeah,
Um,
I did start to read part of that about the cult.
yeah, I mean, I just did overviews. I don't have like the full ins and out, but
Hmm.
to my understanding, she also took part in the brainwashing of the cult members.
Hmm. Slipknot fan asks, how many PS5 consoles did the guy have? Well, from what I heard on the news, and they said that he actually did not end up giving out any PS5s in Union Square because the turnout was just too chaotic, but that he
Mm-hmm.
did end up giving out one PS5 on his live stream.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
like
Cryptomania
Cryptomania
says
said,
none.
none. Um, and Marty says, "Yeah, good point, Josh. Remember when Kim Kardashian was held hostage and yes, that's what I was. When I said that, that's exactly what I was thinking about. Is when she was held hostage and they stole her ring and stuff. I just don't understand people. There was a rapper who said Tony Man's gonna know who it is because I'm not huge with remembering lyrics, but there was a
Mm.
rapper that said if you're showing it off you must not want it, and I do not remember whether it was DMX or 50 Cent, but I could be mistaken that it's neither one of them. But I always
Mm-hmm.
remember that rap lyric about if you show it off you must not want it, and it was basically
Yeah.
that grungy Brooklyn type rap where yeah, the stick up kids and stuff like that. Yeah, I would probably
Um,
not flaunt. If I was a wealthy person, I would not flaunt it. I would probably get a nicer car, like, I would probably get, like, maybe, um, a Volvo truck, but I wouldn't be like, like a Porsche or like a Bentley or anything like that, just something. A Volvo's it's a nicer vehicle, but it doesn't stand out so much as, like,
hmm.
a fire red Corvette or something like that.
No, I like the idea of getting a Fiat. I know they're considered
Mhm.
luxury as well, but they don't look as flashy.
Yeah, and know what I like, actually, is which is not even considered a luxury car, but I like the new Kias. I think
Hmm. Yeah.
they're pretty cool.
Yeah, Kias are great and they're very economical.
Mhm.
It's definitely a smarter thought to go with, yeah.
Dawn says, my wealthiest friend grew up doing his homework in the back of the bar his mom bartended at. He's a multimillionaire today. Wears Costco jeans. Yeah, that
Yeah.
sounds right. That sounds right. Tony says, whoop whoop, shout out to Dark Phoenix and Scarlet Witch of the YouTubers. Oh, that's right. Oh, I forgot. Did you guys see the picture that Marty? I should pull it up on phone so you can see
Oh,
it. Marty made this really, really cool piece of
Yes, I saw
artwork
that.
of me and Kara. Let me pull it up so you guys can see it.
I keep meaning to post that and it slips me, but yeah, I mean, I love those.
It's on
Um,
my Instagram. Here it is. There's one version of it. That's
yeah,
Kara and me as Scarlet Witch and Domino. And then there's another one with us smiling. I like this one with us smiling
yeah,
because it really does look like us. That's on my Instagram, which
yeah.
is at Horror Freak.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw that, it's like I could totally tell it was you, and I hadn't even read the little caption for it yet.
I think I love how it got my nose and my smile right. I love that. Tony Man says it was DMX. The if you talking about you must not want it.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
Cryptomeria says C11 is the government regulations that 30% of everything Canadians see online has to be under CRTC, only Canadian content. This is how communists. You know what? I have to low key agree with that, Cryptomeria, because of something. Is
Oh, wow.
one of the main reasons I think they want to get rid of TikTok. They're trying to say it's their smokescreen was to say it was security issues, but we found out that Facebook has far more security issues than TikTok had. I
Hmm.
think their main reason for getting rid of TikTok, wanting to get rid of TikTok, is there's two things. Number one, they're not getting a profit from it. They don't like things that they can't get a profit of, and it's basically getting more eyes on it than other social medias at this time. But their second thing is that algorithm. They hate that the TikTok algorithm doesn't do what that CRTC um, would propose to do. And a good way to test this is if you have a TikTok account and you have an Instagram and Twitter account, um, put in Hawaii.
Hmm.
If you put in, or better yet, Maui, you put in Maui on Instagram, on Twitter, you might see some of the things about the fire, but you're mostly going to see content that's from influencers or advertising about how beautiful Maui is. But if you
Hmm.
put in Maui on TikTok, you're going to see more videos of what's actually happening in Maui. And the
Hmm.
same thing happened with Paris when things were going on in Paris. Ukraine, any topic you put on, you're going to get international worldwide
Hmm.
videos about that topic, whereas Instagram and Twitter and
Oh,
some
wow.
other things are very US centric. That's why it's very interesting. I'm very fortunate that I've been able to meet people from outside the United States on social media platforms because so much of it is insular. When you put in something into the search bar, it should bring up everyone that's talking about that topic, not just everyone in your area talking about that topic.
Yeah. And then Facebook has already blocked Canadian news, and C18 hasn't even passed fully.
Yeah, that's not cool. When they try to control the flow of information, it's giving 1984 and the thought police. Um, Marty says, "Who was the crazy rapper who put the diamond in their forehead? I'd be shocked no one tried to pull that out." That was Little Uzi Vert, if I'm not mistaken, that put the diamond in his forehead.
Hmm.
It was I don't think it was a diamond. I actually think it was a different type of precious stone because I feel like it was pink.
Hmm.
So it might have been an amethyst or something else. I don't think it was,
Oh.
or maybe there's a such thing as a pink diamond. I'm not wealthy. I don't know.
I mean, there's black diamonds, so
Yeah. So maybe it was a pink diamond.
it could
And,
be. Show only one. Hmm.
mhm. But yeah, keep an eye on as much as it's mentally healthy for you because sometimes ruby, thank you. And
Mm-hmm.
it might have been a ruby, yeah, that he put there. And rubies can be more expensive than diamonds.
Yeah,
But yeah,
depending.
like I said earlier, it's good to stay informed of things, but also monitor your mental health. If you feel like shit's getting too bogged down, take a break from it because honestly, there isn't a whole hell of a lot we can do.
Yeah.
Well, at least in the United States, it's funny that someone once said it was a commenter on it was a documentary I was watching. I can't recall the name of the documentary, but it was about health. It was about healthcare.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I'm laughing at the comments. They're just being
yeah.
silly now. It was
Um,
pink. Actually, it was an infinity stone, and
Thanos
Thanos
took it
took
out.
it out.
What was I saying?
Self-care.
Oh yeah, the documentary I was watching, it was
Oh,
about healthcare, and it was, talking about healthcare in other places versus the United States. And the commenter said that um, in France, the government is afraid of the people, and in the United States, the people are afraid of the government. And that statement always stuck with me because, of course, in France they had a guillotine. They took out the uh, certain segment of the royals with the with the guillotine. In the U.S., our government has actually done experiments on us without telling us. So, like, yeah, I can see why the U.S. populace is more afraid of the government than vice versa.
hmm.
All right, with
Well,
that, I always end up talking about these non sequitur
well, I was
minded.
actually I was thinking because I had an ex who used to watch like CNN and Fox News all the time.
Hmm.
And he just wouldn't quit. It would like make his anxiety worse, and he just
Oh
kept
yeah,
going back.
and it's designed to. With a lot of the news stories now, especially since they really want to feed the algorithm on social media, they do a thing called rage baiting, where they'll purposely put things to make people argue over it in the comments, because the news, and for anyone who's very young watching this, news is what happened, when did it happen, where did it happen, who did it happen to,
Yeah.
what possibly could happen next. That's the news. If opinions start being shared, it's no longer news, it becomes editorial, it becomes an opinion piece. And the worst thing they could have done to news channels was to make them ratings based.
Hmm.
By making them ratings based, they're going to compete with each other to get more eyes. And so, right now, the popular thing to do is rage baiting, because it gets people's eyes on them and it gets people interacting with the algorithm, arguing in the comments so that they get traction. But the problem with that is those arguments in the comment section do not translate into advertising dollars.
Hmm.
So I think they're probably going to do that for another year or two before they stop doing that. Once they figure out that it's not profitable, it gets eyes on them, but it doesn't get money, because the whole purpose of your program being on television is that advertisers play the commercials and people buy for what they see in the commercials. But that's not, I don't think that's happening, because most people are streaming. We're not watching the whole content. We're watching the clips on YouTube.
Hmm.
And the rage baiting is just making angry populace,
Yeah.
which is not, it's not improving situation.
Oh.
So don't allow yourselves to be rage baited. Be like Mad Max when you see, if you've seen Mad Max Fury Road, when he goes that's bait. Tony Man says, I get all my news from The Onion. Sad thing is, it used to be parody, but now it's starting to blur the line. I remember The Onion.
Yeah. Oh,
Slipknot
there's
fan says this.
another. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, another rapper who had gold chains implanted into his scalp. Was he a reggaeton rapper? I feel like that might have been a reggaeton rapper if I'm thinking of the same person.
Um, well, I've also heard of people having like diamonds or jewels implanted in their teeth.
Oh yeah, that goes back thousands of years. They
Yeah.
actually found skulls. I don't remember whether it was
Aztec, I
Mayan
think.
or Aztec, but yeah, they had the gold. They had gold in their teeth. Fominky Light says also those vids of people making disgusting and confusing dishes. Yeah, I skip those because I'm sensitive about like watching
Yeah.
food stuff.
They are pretty gross.
Hmm.
Taxpayers pay the CBC $2 billion a year for government propaganda. CRTC approved. Why they are going with these new bills, people aren't watching them and they want to control us.
Hmm. And Dawn also says, it's been said, when the people fear the government, there's tyranny. When the government fear the people, there's liberty.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, people have to pay close attention. Another thing about rage baiting, and this is the last thing I'm going to say. Some things are smoke screen. To relate what Crypto Miria is saying about Canada, something similar is happening in the United States. Whenever I say they tell you to look to the right, look to the left, or if they tell you to look to the left, look to the right,
Hmm.
because a lot of times they'll do these wild news stories about people,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
all up in arms about.
To
Um,
take
I
attention off of something else.
Yes, and so what
Yeah.
they'll do is they'll say, "Hey, everybody, look over here. Look over here. This is us. You know, we want you to get angry about those trans people who aren't hurting anybody. Get you all look at these trans people. What if the drag queens read a story in school? Meanwhile, over
Yeah.
here, they're like, let's write some legislation that removes, affirmative action and Roe v. Wade, and
Yeah.
you
I
guys
mean,
argue about the trans woman in the beer commercial. Do that, yeah.
that was
That's something
dumb.
that affects your life.
And that brand actually suffered loss just to doing that. Like people
Hmm.
just didn't want to buy it anymore. And I'm like, okay, rednecks don't care about those types of issues.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the tent cities in California are getting larger and larger. With the homeless, there's a homeless population in California of people who are literally engineers in Silicon Valley living in their cars.
Mm.
That's a little bit more of a issue that we should be talking about. But no, let's bring up some. Oh, the Little Mermaid's black. Let's argue about that for
Oh
6 months.
God. Well, who's to say she wasn't? Nobody's ever
Yeah.
really described what she looks like.
Yeah, it's a children's cartoon. The other one still exists. Both Little Mermaids still exist. Both have dolls. The children don't care. You ask a 6-year-old, they don't care.
No, they don't look at things like that.
No, they
It's
don't even
behavior that's
register
taught.
color until society teaches them to register
Yes.
skin color.
Or orientation.
Tony Min says, "Come on, foe, you didn't enjoy Paula Patton making chicken?
Oh, I
How
missed
dare
that
you
one.
bring that memory back into my head? That was the most unseasoned chicken I've ever seen in my life."
I
um,
saw one with spaghetti where she just put it in it was like in some bake pan and then didn't even completely covered it. Just,
mhm.
oh, he doesn't like her cooking either. Hey, calm down. But yeah, she just dolloped like spaghetti sauce on it and then just threw some like ground meat. And
Mhm.
it's like, yeah, that's going to turn out crap when you pull it out of the oven.
Yes. Slipknot fan says Mexican rapper named Don Sur. Yes. And Cryptomeria says Victoria has tent cities and streets. I don't feel safe going down even in the day. I can
Oh, wow.
imagine. I'm seeing just from the last few years, just here in Central Florida, Orlando used to be considered, well, its nickname was the City Beautiful.
Mm,
And there used to be $100 fine for littering. And now when I drive around Orlando, there's trash everywhere. It doesn't look like a tourist destination anymore. It's starting to look really, really run down, and it's a shame because it has been such a beautiful city for so long, and
mm-hmm,
no one's asking what happened to those jobs. Where are the street clean there in my neighborhood? There was a street cleaner machine. I always remember it because it would wake me up in the morning because it's very, very loud, and I would hear it every week. I don't hear it
mm,
every week anymore. So, I mean, I know, I mean, what I'm saying, I was going to say, I know it's because our government is an asshole and a lot of people are pulling out. But even before it became evident that he was an asshole, these things, he was taking money away from these programs. And on
mm-hmm,
top of his wife still may be on the hook for um, owing money to FEMA, because FEMA, after the last hurricane, we received so many millions of dollars through FEMA that his wife was in charge of, but no one has seen a penny of except her.
mm.
So like there's I wouldn't be surprised if charges don't get filed soon for the two of them because what they're doing is very corrupt. And rather than handling that, he's saying, I'm going to pull your liquor license if you're a hotel and you do a drag show. And it's like, how about you clean the fucking potholes? I don't care about the drag show. It's in a
Yeah.
hotel at night. No one's bringing their kids to a drag show at 11 o'clock at night at a hotel. We care
Yeah. I
about the
mean,
potholes in the street.
whoops. Hey,
And I
stop
didn't vote
that.
for him. I voted for the other guy that ended up he was found in a hotel room high on fentanyl with two prostitutes. But I still voted for him over that damn DeSantis. um, where were we? I didn't get the problem with the Little Mermaid. The Disney adaptation is so far away from the original in Denmark. I didn't have a problem with it. It's beautifully done. Yeah, for me, I don't have a problem because I'm an adult and it's not for me. It's for
Yeah.
children. If the 5-year-olds to 10-year-olds like it, more power to them. It's not I have my children's stuff from when I grew up. I still have the
No.
Neverending Story and
Oh,
Labyrinth
I
and
love that. Yeah.
yeah, and the Dark Crystal, which are wonderful things. The Wiz. We watched The Wiz so much.
Legend.
Yes, Legend. Let them have their stuff that's just for them. It's cool.
I mean, I still want to watch that Little Mermaid movie, and it has nothing to
Mhm.
do with the fact that her skin tone was changed. I just like the story, and I want to see what Disney did different with the live action.
Mhm.
Like I have the live action Beauty and the Beast, the Jungle Book. I
Mm.
also have the cartoons of that. I mean, it'd be really cute if they did Fox and the Hound.
Mm. I haven't seen the live actions of any of those. I guess I just am not huge into Disney live action except for like okay, I'm really going to date myself. You guys are going to know how old I am now. I grew up with uh bed knobs and broomsticks
I
live
love that one.
Mary Poppins, like those were the live
Yeah,
action Disney. Even though that
the
those still
Parent
came out
Trap.
before I was born, they were played on television when I was growing up a
Yes.
lot, so that's what I associated. I just
Yeah,
recently
same here.
rewatched The Black Hole, which is so boring, even as an adult. I thought it
Oh,
was boring
wow.
when I was a kid, and I said, "Well, let me rewatch it as an adult and see maybe it's more interesting." No, it's still boring as an adult. It's pretty amazing what they did. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
And
No,
then the
love the Dark
discourse
Crystal.
on washing chicken is done. Yes, I believe in washing the chicken. I just it's
Oh, I
I believe in
remember
washing
that.
everything. Honestly, I wash apples. I wash banana, whatever fruit you
Yes.
bring into your house or food. I just believe in washing it because you know it's been handled by people. So it's a good practice to do that.
Yeah. I remember that the chicken was pink in the middle and you're sitting down to eat it. I'm like, you are going to get so sick.
Yes, that's is it salmonella that you get from eating raw meat? I forget
I
what it is.
I want to say it is. The only thing that you don't is the raw eggs.
Hmm. Yes. Thanks for the talk, everyone. Well, I'm skipping some. Cryptomeria says, I had 3 channels as a kid, and Dawn says, thanks for the talk, everyone. It was great. Hope I can tune in next time. I foraged a good 2 pounds of chanterelles hiking during my time here. That's really nice. I'm gonna Google what chanterelles are. Are they a type of flower?
Hmm.
I'm looking right now. Chanterelles. Oh, mushrooms.
Oh,
Their type of mushroom. Cool.
nice.
Are you gonna cook those? Are you gonna make tea with them? Or are you going to, eat them? Or anything else? Yes, a common name of several species, genera Cantharellus.
Hmm.
They're among the most popular wild edible mushrooms. Okay, so you can eat them. Are they the type of edibles that you can go on, like, mental trips with? I just wonder. I've never tried mushrooms
Oh,
before, but I've had friends that do. I remember one time I called my friend. I was like, "Hey, do you want me to meet me at such and such?" And she was like, "I can't drive. I just took some mushrooms." And I was like, "Okay," but I've not had the chance to try them yet.
hmm.
Um,
Let's see. I loved the video of the little African American girl who got excited when she saw the new Little Mermaid trailer. And she was so excited saying she's like me.
yeah,
Yeah, we don't have enough like
that was
ethnic
really
stuff.
good.
Like even when Encanto was out, there were
Yes,
children saying the same thing.
I remember there was a little boy whose hair was he had big curls, just like I forget the main character's little brother in Encanto, which is a
Yeah,
beautiful movie that made me cry.
yeah, I loved it. And I did. I'll be honest. I appreciated the fact that they were Hispanic characters. I mean, I know even when I was growing up, even if it was like a film for adults or live action or whatever,
Mhm,
and it had like Hispanic people in it, like I would get excited because mostly what I saw
mhm,
in films were Caucasians.
mhm. And even from a business perspective, why would you wanna limit your audience to just one group of people? Like, if
Hmm.
I was a cartoonist, I would want to make cartoons for, like, all the different children of the world.
Yeah.
I would just
Um,
do it just so I have, like, this big plethora of all these different, things that I've drawn, that I've created. It doesn't make logical sense to just be very closed to just one, or limited to just one group of people. Let's see here.
Have fun in the bush, sort of jelly.
Exactly, trash. It matters. Um, I should ask. Know what? Next time I talk to Terrence, I'm going to have to ask him. But I'm going to ask you too, Marty. How did you guys feel about? I mean, I know this is a Scottish character, not an Irish character, but how did you feel about Marita from Brave? One of the things I loved the most about the character was her
Oh,
hair, because there's not, clearly, curly hair. There's not a lot of characters that have this big curly hair. And one of the things that I love about
mhm.
her curly hair is the curls aren't uniform. Because when you have curly hair, all your curls are not the same. They're different.
Yeah.
They're different. And another character that touched me, just the actual drawing of them, was Moana. And one of the things I love is her nose. She doesn't have the little tiny nose that most princesses have. She has a wide, round nose. And I almost teared up the first time I saw her drawing and she had that nose. I was like, finally. It was just little things I like. Um, she says, no, not trippy mushrooms. She cooks them and they're delicious. I'm meant to, I
Yeah.
see Dawn. And
No,
then Marty
I got
says,
that one last, and then yeah, that one I didn't see.
mhm, nice, because I eat mushrooms too. The
I
originals
love
are
them.
still there, and you'll still love them. Exactly, is what I was saying. This,
Yes.
you can still go back and watch that
No
original.
one's taking it away.
Yeah. Let the next generation take the reins in pop culture. I'm sick. I'm part of the angry black beard generation. Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, as you saw with the issue that I had yesterday on my stream, the person that was making these comments was part of my generation. It was so embarrassing because I want people to understand that there are members of Generation X that are progressive, that are able to learn new things.
Hmm.
And it's embarrassing when you have someone that is acting in a way that is so outdated and so ignorant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Well, I'm kind of in a period
Neckbeard.
like that too, where I'm trying to keep up with more modern things because I realize I'm stuck in my comfort zone.
Mhm. Cryptomira says, I do that with my blog. All AI, but I like seeing so much diversity. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows, because the world can be a beautiful place when you look at all the things that people do. And even with music, I'm always surprised when people like, I mean, I'm not saying this as a judgment, so I don't want anyone to take it that way, but I'm surprised when people only listen to one type of music,
Mm.
when there's a plethora of sounds. Yeah, you're definitely gonna like some things better than other things. That's natural. But to
Mm-hmm.
deprive yourself of hearing what type of music is happening around the world is like, it would depress you. Like, if all I listened to was top 40 radio, I'd want to take myself out. I'm so
Oh
glad that there's
no,
music available from around
I
the world.
I get sick of listening to it after a while. I never finish
Mhm.
one of those shows.
Yeah. The only time I hear the radio is if I drive my grandmother's minivan sometimes when I take her to her appointment. She has a radio in a minivan. I don't always feel like plugging in my phone and tuning to Spotify. Sometimes I'll just let it play, just to see what's on the radio, and it hasn't changed. So,
Well, I think radio, they just kind of recycle the same stuff. Like, there's a station from San Antonio that I listen to. It's a rock station, and I'll go back and I'll listen to it just to see if there's anything new that I haven't discovered.
mhm,
And a lot of what I hear is like the same stuff from when I was in college, the same stuff from the 90s.
yeah,
And it's
and
like, don't you ever change anything?
there is a documentary. Somebody in the comments might know the title of it. I can't recall the title of it, but I believe I watched it on Tubi. I could be mistaken, and it might have been Amazon Prime, but it was a documentary about the radio stations in America and how, at a certain point in the early to mid 2000s, they were bought by three companies. So it's basically this close to being a monopoly. And then when the three companies bought the radio stations, they started replacing the on-air DJs with
Mm-hmm.
just what they call on-air talent now. They're not DJs anymore, because the DJs were actually able to sometimes play local artists. They were able to create their own playlist, and it was very regional. You would
Mm-hmm.
notice, like, back in the 90s, if you traveled, say you were in New York, and you listen to the radio, it's not going to sound the same as if you were in California or if you were in New Mexico or if you were in Louisiana. It would be kind of regional. When the companies, which one of them is Clear Channel, I can't remember the other two, took those over, they removed all the regional pockets, and it's just one uniform playlist for the whole country. And then what they have a lot of the DJs or on-air personalities doing is they come in one day a week and they record all their bumpers introducing the songs, and that recording is just stored and it's pre-programmed. So when you turn on your radio today, 9 times out of 10 you're just listening to a pre-recording of someone
Mm-hmm.
introducing things, and then it's just an automated playlist. And it eliminated so many jobs, eliminated so much regional sounds, and
Yeah.
that's why you're going to hear like the same 8 artists over and over again, except for some of the golden oldies stations might play a little bit more. But yeah, that was the worst thing they could do, was sell all those radio stations to only 3 companies, and just, I don't know, it's just not great. And now they're not sure what they're going to do next, because radio isn't exactly profitable anymore, because most people, connect their Spotify in their car and don't even listen to the radio.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yeah.
Pandora, Spotify or Pandora.
Well, then, like modern vehicles, they're either set up where they don't even have radios anymore, or CD players or any of
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
It's kind of like they're encouraging you to just plug in your own phone or
Mhm.
whatever and just listen to your own music.
Yeah. And what was really surprising in that documentary was to find out that a lot of the DJs, they weren't being paid very much at all. Like the average salary for a radio DJ, on-air personality, was $24,000 to $28,000. So they could get incredibly popular and well known in their area, but they're still living off of what, I mean, I'm quite sure if you were a manager of McDonald's, you would have a higher salary than an on-air personality on a radio, and that was wild to find out. Let's see. Let's do some more comments, and I got to get out of here because I'm hungry. We talked about food and mushrooms and stuff, and now I got to get something to eat.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was a fun discussion. I enjoyed it.
Let me write that down. Marty says if you get a chance, check out
Yeah.
two fantastic Irish animated movies: Secret of Celts
And Wolf Talker. I'm writing it down also.
and Wolf Talker. I will check them out.
Hmm. There's another one that comes up around every fall or Halloween. Oh, Secret of the Keels. Yeah, I thought it was Celts.
Celts. There we go. Anatolian says I want to rock my records on a funky dope grandma. I think you mean gramophone. All right, with that, I think we should get out of here because this was one of the best conversations I've had in a long time. Felt good.
Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, thank you to everybody for catching the show or coming into the chat. We appreciate it. Um, yeah, I mean, we appreciate it every time you guys are there
Mhm.
commentating or just, adding your own thoughts to what's being discussed or bringing up new topics. It definitely adds a lot. So that's always greatly appreciated. Of course. Let
Thank
me
you,
see.
Astrid.
Ouch. And
And thank you,
then
Cryptomeria.
I've been mispronouncing it this whole time. Um,
What do you have coming up for the rest of August?
um, myself,
Hmm.
I believe it's next week, the 19th. Marty and I are doing a discussion on Alien.
Oh,
And
nice.
then for the last weekend of August, it's going to be Hey Internet Eric, it's me.
Hmm.
I totally messed up his name, but we're doing Renfield.
Very, very cool. For me, I don't have any more live streams coming up for August that I can think of. On Monday, I am on Hood Podcast where we talk about all like news of the weird and all things Black geek culture. On Wednesday, I am doing a conspiracy live stream. It's going to be on the Evil Tyrone's channel. And then I'm taking a few days off because I'm going to be traveling to Seattle to help Crystal set up for the Cabin in the Woods Film Festival, which is August 23rd to the 26th. It's in person in Seattle, but it's also online
Oh
at
yeah.
yeah, so you can get tickets for it at cabininthewoodsfilmfestival.com. Um, there's 4 film blocks that will be playing online for you on August 26th, and in between the film blocks, there will be a social wall and also, some trivia games with prizes, and some of the prizes that we have are, like, gift cards to AMC theaters and such. Um, so that's going to be a pretty good time. This is put together by horror author Crystal Connor, who is a trusted name in terror. She's an award-winning author who's officiated a lot of film festivals, but this is her first film festival that she has created herself, that she's been the director of. So we're really looking forward to that. I'm trying to think if I can remember anything else that I'm forgetting. Let me look at my calendar. Yes, Crystal and I will also be on the Nightclub podcast on Friday the 18th at 9 p.m. So I think that's what I have for the rest of the month. I think that's it.
Yeah. Tony Man was saying, love these Marvel team ups. Can't wait for the next one. Tell the doggos hello.
hmm We will schedule another one in September. We're not sure what the subject should be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we'll think on it. I think the one for October. Wait, when does The Exorcist come out? That would be great to talk about. I want to say it comes out at the end of September, though. So that might be in October.
Was that the new documentary about The Exorcist, or was that just like
No, no, there's a reboot or
Oh,
sequel,
okay.
kind of. The Exorcist Believer.
Oh,
That
okay.
comes out. Oh, it doesn't come out till October 13th. Okay, so that'll
Okay.
definitely be October. What's releasing in September? Is it the Nun? I feel like something is supposed to come out in September.
Um, I'm not sure. I know I saw the new trailer for The Nun. I don't recall the release date.
Yeah, September 8th is the release date. So should we talk about the first Nun movie, or well, we can, or do you have another movie you were thinking of talking about?
Um, the first one that comes to mind is The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. But I know some people don't like that one as much.
Yeah, I don't love that one. I do love the first 2 Conjuring movies.
Yeah, the
Well,
first one's good. Mm-hmm.
we could talk about, how about we talk about The Conjuring as a series? Oh, wait,
We
there's some.
oh,
Okay. Oh, no, I was just looking at the comments.
MS-45 is what Trash Picture Show is
Oh,
saying.
Miss 45. I have reviewed Miss 45, and I dressed up as a nun when I did it. I love Miss 45. It's a SA revenge movie where a woman is
Yeah.
SA'd and then she gets her revenge, and it's I like the revenge part of it a lot.
Yeah, those are usually fun to watch. Like I like the revenge part of it as well. And I don't know because it started in the 70s, so I don't know what really started the genre. Like was it
Yeah.
like feminist? I mean, I can't see that. I believe it would have been directed by a man.
Mm. And also I Spit on Your Grave. I think that might have been directed by a man as well.
Hmm. That
Um,
one has so many RPE scenes. The first time I watched it, I eventually just started fast forwarding through them.
mhm. Tony Man says Nefarious. Let's converse about that. Let me look at the release date for Nefarious. I know it comes out soon, but I don't know whether it's
Hmm. Let me see, I can write
Nefarious.
down MS-45. I don't know why I keep calling it MS-45.
No, that's not right. This says that Nefarious is already out. It came out in April. It
Okay.
is it's available for rent. It's on Vudu, Google Play, and Amazon Prime.
Okay,
Okay.
cool. So I'd be able to watch that then.
Well, we'll say to be announced, but we'll definitely have a show in September. Um, we'll talk about the scheduling. You'll see what we're doing. Make sure you follow us on social media. She is, if anyone is still on Twitter. She is retro underscore horrors on Twitter, and horror underscore retrospective on Instagram. And I'm at horror freak on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And I will think I pulled it up for you guys to see, but I'll pull it up again. That's
Oh,
the Instagram.
mm,
And you can see the name is right here. Horror, but it's freak spelled FREQ. Same name on TikTok and on Twitter.
mhm. Let me see. Just looking at my possible film review list, I have Evil Dead Rise,
Hmm.
Hereditary, Cooties.
Oh, wait. Have you seen Beau is Afraid?
I haven't heard of that one.
That's Ari Aster's new film. It's after he did Hereditary, then he did Midsommar, and then he did Beau is Afraid. It's a very fascinating examination of anxiety.
Oh, wow.
I don't know whether you'll like it or not because it's very avant-garde
Oh, okay. I
and
like
well,
that type of stuff.
yeah. Well, if you're familiar with Ari Aster, his stuff is going to be a little bit uh, different. But I feel
Yeah.
like it would make for a great subject.
I mean, especially if they use surrealism. I mean, I
Yes.
love that.
There's a whole sequence that's very surreal. It's almost like it's in a fantasy realm, and then it comes back to the real world. It's to me, I felt like it was a fascinating movie. Some people might not like the runtime because it is about 3 hours. I want to say it was two hours and some change. And let me see where it's available. Beau is Afraid. Yeah, it's 2 hours and 59 minutes, so basically 3 hours.
Yeah.
It's on Prime Video for $4.99 now, but
Okay.
by next month it might move on to like Netflix and stuff like that.
Yeah, they do rotate them out.
Hmm. But also, if you get to see Talk to Me or Cobweb, we can talk about those too. I love
Um,
that.
let's see, I can take a look and see if I'm able to find those.
Let me see. Talk to Me is still in theaters. Cobweb, I know it's online, but I don't know what streaming. So let me see here. Cobweb is on Amazon Prime so far.
Let's see. Tony Man is saying already on VOD. It is out on stream.
Yeah, yeah. Cobweb is on Prime.
Okay.
Okay, now with that, I got to get out of here.
All
I would
right.
love to say, but I have to go. I had a great time. Thank you guys again in the chat.
Yeah. And
And
thank you also for stopping by and having a chat with us as well.
thank you for having me. I always have a good time.
But alrighty, it looks like that is all we have for today, and I will talk to you later.